be doing anything. It's getting hotter than hell in my head, and I need some relief. So let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain, let it rain on me. If I don't change, nothing changes. So let it rain on me. So let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain on me. Oh, if I don't change, nothing changes. So let it rain on me. Watching my back, I think I'm over this town. This kind of evil attracts constant panic attack. Should have even warned. Meet me in California. There's still more to the story, but I need more Johnny Walker. I wanna be anywhere else. I wanna be doing anything. It's getting hotter than hell in my head, and I need some relief. So let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain on me. Oh, if I don't change, nothing changes. So let it rain on me. I can't tell you what's in the water, but I know it's what I need. I won't stay dry for long. It's not poison at all. It's purified me. Wanna be anywhere else. Wanna be doing anything. It's getting hotter than hell in my head, and I need some relief. So let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain on me. If I don't change, nothing changes. So let it rain on me. So let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain on me. Oh, if I don't change, nothing changes. So let it rain on me. Let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain. Let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain on me. Let it rain, let it rain. Let it rain on me.
He cannot eat, he cannot sleep, he cannot see that death is coming. I know there's nothing more I can do. In fits and dreams, he speaks to me. He says these things beyond belief. I cannot take these words out. this road. This nameless prophet that could see that which resides inside of me. Carry on for your generation. You are the one to guide them on. Don't delay, your time has come. Lead the way to a brighter dawn. Carry on for your generation. You are the one to guide them on. Don't delay, your time has come. Lead the way into a brighter dawn. Carry on for your generation. You are the one to guide them on. Don't delay, your just miserable.
Yeah. I'm.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
hey.
Hi.
We've
You
been
guys
talking
ready
about
to?
a lot of things,
Oh,
not really.
great.
Yeah, not specifically related to much of anything,
Okay.
Antolia wise.
A-
We
ap-
got it all out of our system.
okay. After you
We've
got
been
done talking
beating
about how
around.
crappy I am. Got it. All
Oh
right.
no, it
We've
was
been
more.
beating around.
I won't start. I won't start the argument in the chat by saying it. Never mind.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Uh,
Well, hey, welcome everyone to this week's weekly milestone. Obviously, we've got the quite the cast today. We've got Rosani returning. We've got Tiani returning. You know, both of them came back because their names end in Ani. And then
Yeah.
you got Zortanya, who also has Ani in her name.
Ani superiority.
Yeah.
That's what we're at.
Who also plays? We discussed this before we went live. She plays Ririn. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Rihrin.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are. We're ready to go. How was everyone's week before we get started?
Oh, you know.
oh, you know.
Do I?
Yeah.
Do I know? I don't know. That's why I asked.
You know some of it.
Yeah.
You-
I've been
you
doing
know-
inventory. And yeah. Trying to count how many pencils there are at a school.
Ugh.
Imagine the fun.
Oh, that sounds riveting.
I've been just, trying to keep my team afloat as we go through the probably busiest time of our year. It starts at like mid-September and goes all the way through October. So it's just insanity.
Yeah.
Just insanity.
Yep. Yep.
I've
Yeah.
been playing Hades a lot, mostly. That's
Cool.
about it.
What do you think of it? I played it before when I was in Vegas.
I'm a big fan. It is a lot of fun. The art's really interesting. The music fucks.
Oh. Okay.
It's just a great little game. I highly recommend. Although I will say this, I think that the at some point, like I'm having a lot of fun with it, but at a certain point, I'm like, if I have to fight another one of these stupid little skeleton bastards, I'm just gonna lose it.
Eh,
So, you know.
yeah, it can be a frustrating game if you let it get to you. But like once
Oh,
you
yeah.
realize that the whole point is dying over and over, it's usually not as annoying.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Well. All right. So we're gonna dive into the first topic. I don't know if you guys have a preference on what to talk about first. You know, we have like 8 things here, so do you guys want to talk about the announcement post, the big October extravaganza?
Works
Sure.
for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me pull it up here in game, so we know where to start. I know that you all probably have some thoughts on this because I know that Rosani at least already said that she's down to do the Epicurean. I think it was.
I always am.
Yeah.
Any brewing contest, any cooking contest, I just think that they're a blast. There's a lot of little, and it's not even really culture in terms of in character culture. It's kind of just a game culture around it that is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Love the Epicurean.
It's a fun contest. I like the Epicurean. It's just that going in as Tiani in that kind of context, she can't cook.
Uh
Last time she was in an Iron Epicurean, I think she pulled some grass from the ground because lemon grass. Well,
Oh.
just grab some and then toss it into a pot.
I
Nice.
honestly love.
We had a lot of fun, but yeah.
I love when people join and they RP that they can't cook. That's some
Yeah.
of my favorite stuff.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some of that in game without the Iron Epicurean, and it's always hilarious. But yeah, is there anything in particular you guys, Tiani, Dortanya, are looking to other than the Epicurean, like for this whole thing of October?
Well,
Me?
Starfall.
Yes, I
Always
was going to say the same thing. Starfall is my favorite because I'm a fan of using my numpad and I just go crazy just running around in circles looking for them. So that is the one thing I really am looking forward to.
I've never done one before. That should
It's
be
a blast.
interesting.
It's very high energy to just keep moving constantly and not stop, so they can just run through, have a trigger that's automatically picking them up, and just kind of try to mass them as quickly as you can.
Yeah, it's really fun. I love Starfalls. I usually do quite well since I've been moving around a lot as an explorer, but it's tricky because you need to keep ahead of everyone else and find good spots. So
Yeah. I think the first one that is, well, there's a couple of the first ones that are interesting to me. I think I've never tried my hand at it before, but I think with the improvement I've made to being able to write things in the past few years, I really want to try to do the bardic, depending on like what
oh
that
yeah,
means. And also, since I have a ton, I
no,
also wonder with the Iron Lottery, like what the currency is. Is it going to be gold credits? Like I don't know how that's going to work. But if it's gold, I might spend a ton of my gold on the lottery too. So I think that'd be
yeah, it
fun.
might be an idea. But
Well,
yeah,
they said with the
artisanal.
Iron Lottery that it's probably just going to be tickets from promotions. I don't know if there will be a way to buy into it normally.
Oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. But yeah, and then there, then we have the days of the week stuff. I think that's really interesting. It'll, double milestones. When they say double milestones on Tuesdays, I wonder if that means you get twice as many milestone like platinum keystones for each milestone, or if that means that you can earn double
I think
platinum.
it's a double number of bonus milestones, maybe,
Well,
because that's what another time.
what it was last time when they did the double is that you got the opportunity to make up to 40 instead of
Yeah,
making the 20.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. It was probably either
Yeah.
going to be the 40 or like maybe you get double from each thing. But in
Yeah, one
chat
or
in
the other.
chat, Ictena said that the tickets for the lottery will not be promo only.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah,
It,
there's a lot
Oh,
of
it does
stuff.
say available in game. I see
the
it now. I'm
return of
stupid.
Bardix is a particularly interesting because we had some discussion about that
Yeah.
on our crafting thing. So I think that's great to see it come back. I might try my hands at illustrating something because technically that's what my degree's in. But yeah, I'm interested to see what it creates and if it, I'm wondering if they might avoid doing it every month. But I'd be interested to see it come back even as like a bi-yearly sort of thing.
Yeah, like a twice a
something
year
that
or
comes
something.
together when something happens, at least, so you have a chance to keep up with what is going on in the game. So if there's an event, toss up an artisanal or toss up a bardic just to let people show off their skills a bit,
Yeah.
have fun with it, and showcase that the game is alive and things are happening.
Yeah, for sure. And in regards to like people drawing and doing art and stuff, I'd love to have more of it on the stream here. Like I'd love to be able to get to a place where we have people submitting all kinds of stuff and I just put it, on the starting soon screen or whatever, like as a slideshow. That'd be fun. But yeah, art's good. Art is good. And I'm interested to see what that daily quest that will go live for the whole month will be with a special reward for multiple completions because that's always fun.
That
More,
would be interesting.
yeah, more stuff for me to do daily. I actually kind of like that stuff. I just wish I had more time in the day now, honestly.
Yeah. If I got to wish for something, it would be that someone took a chance to balance out the Triptysha tiles, because the god-themed tiles basically ruin the game, so it's not fun to play with people if they don't have those divine tiles. But if it was balanced, giving out more themes, more collections of those, that would be fun.
Yeah. Yep. And then of course we have the celebrate command, which is kind of like a happy birthday command, but for everyone for the month essentially, which is awesome. And then Starfall #1, and then of course you got to have the Great Hunt for 48 hours, which I like Great Hunt in theory, but like in practice it's not for me. I mean obviously I'm ranked kind of double digits like a lot of people on bashing, but that's just like by consequence of just being active all the time. Like I don't really like bashing that much personally, but
I only bash if a newbie begs me to. I've reached
yeah,
100. That's all I give a shit about.
I
I
know.
like I know there are people who are like, "Oh, you should try to reach 200. It's such a challenge." I
Right.
have a limited time on this earth, and I
Exactly.
intend to spend it doing something more interesting
Yep.
than bashing.
Yep.
Like I enjoy bashing, and mostly just because I like the fake numbers going up.
Right.
The very
But
numbers go burr. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got
yeah, exactly. They just go go burr. It's like while I'm working, I have literally nothing else to do most times, but just let that run and just keep an eye on it and make sure I'm not dying too bad. So it's something I do like to do. So while I would normally do the hunt, I do think we have way too many people playing right now that are pretty
Yeah.
avid bashers that it's going to be extremely hard to compete. So unless you're feeling like dealing with the pressure and dealing with a very competitiveness of it, it's not probably going to be for most people. Maybe some of the newbies before you get to that, if they're
Yeah.
doing brackets, might be useful for them. But the higher level people, nah.
Yeah. I think
I
for
mean,
the
it depends if you have a basher or something, because I'm one of those people who are not on Sunder, Dark Side, Prime, all those
right.
Prime fantasy systems out there. I'm on a very old system that is not really upkept, so and with my own things in it, which basically means that I don't have a basher, so I'm moving around manually, which means that bashing for me is like
Yeah.
super boring
Yeah.
because I need to be focused basically all the time. So yeah, maybe if I had something that walked me around a bit, I would be bashing more. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I prefer to, if I'm online, to RP or you know craft or do other things.
Yeah.
agreed.
Trust me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, is like I tend to be on at a time where there's not really anyone to RP with except on Shadow side, and my character is currently Spirit side, so it ends up being difficult to get interaction a lot of the time.
Mhm.
So I don't know what
You
else to do with my
come
time.
to me.
I can come RP you, okay?
Yep. If you see me around, always that's fine.
Yeah.
I always RP cross tether as well if I might get a chance. So
Yeah, in regards to the Great Hunt, I think it's going to be fairly predictable who's going to be like in the top 10. And
Yeah.
but that's okay. I feel like that's a cool thing to give those people to do, and reward them
Yeah.
for, cuz there's a ton of other stuff in this month. So, yeah, I think that's a good addition for the people that will enjoy it for sure.
Yeah.
And then
I agree.
I don't know if any of you guys. I know me and Razani don't, but I don't know if either of two of you have ever played Kingslayer. I know Sidin, we talked about it with him because he's real into it last time, but I don't know of anybody who plays Kingslayer because apparently somehow it's against our roleplay in Templar, even though that's weird to me. But that's what I've been
Well,
told by Steve. So
I've
at the
never played
time,
it.
at the time, it was apparently assumed that it had something to do with that cult that was around.
yeah, the Cult of K or whatever.
Oh.
I don't know if that will continue going forward.
Yeah,
I just didn't play it because, once again, it's like I don't even play Farkle, like unless
right.
somebody begs me to. The only time I ever played Farkle was when Izzy was like, "I need somebody to lose to me at Farkle."
Yeah,
So and that's totally fine, and I get that some people would get into it. It's never been my thing, but again, like you said, it's good to have something for everybody. You can't
Yeah.
please everybody all the time, but given a month, you can please a pretty
yeah.
hefty chunk of the population.
Yeah, there's going to
Yeah.
be something for everyone out of all this stuff. And, that moves us on to the next thing on the list, the quiz. I've never gotten to do a quiz that I can remember on this character ever. And I've honestly wanted to do quizzes on this stream for, like, credit prizes. But again, there's not enough time in the day for me to go research questions and answers and stuff like that. But I'm glad somebody's doing it and we're going to have a quiz. I think that'll be fun. Um,
Yeah. I
there
mean,
might even be people that are like, hey, I'm gonna go study up in the Grand Library and stuff, just to prepare for that.
yeah. Problem is I won't be able to join in because it's at 11 GMT, so it's going to be at 1 o'clock in the middle of the night on a Wednesday.
Oof. Ooh.
So yeah, nope, no
Yep.
quiz for me.
Yep. 7 p.m. for me. I might be able to do that. Yeah, I probably will. We'll
Should be
see.
able to do it. I
First
always love doing the
Starfall,
quiz.
yeah. First Starfall starts at 2 a.m.
Poor
There's a
Gianni.
second one, though, right?
Just
that's
just
around
get you some
the time.
coffee.
Another
Get you some coffee. It'll be fine. It'll be
Yeah.
I
fine.
don't coffee. I don't drink
Oh,
coffee.
that's right. You're a tea person, right?
I'm a tea person.
I
Tiani.
remember that now. Tiani, exactly.
Tiani
I should
likes
remember
tea.
that.
You are all fired for that joke. Immediately and instantaneously.
I accept that. I can accept that. I like being fired. It'd be nice. I have a lot more free time.
Yeah,
It's
you
okay.
do.
Fired up. No, it's okay.
Skipping ahead near the bottom of the list because Ictina Smith mentions it in chat. There's a second Starfall for my fellow EU friends, at least.
You know, I want to be in both of them. So basically, I'm going to go home after work on Wednesday and drop dead in my bed so I can get up at 2 in the morning, be on the Starfall, and then go to sleep again and hope that I don't get called in to substitute on Thursday. That's my plan. And then at 7:05, people are going to call me and say, "Hi, can you substitute today?" And I'll have to drag myself out to work.
Yep. And then, of course, we have on the 16th and 17th we have the combat related ones, the brawl and the duel for the people that that.
I might actually get involved with the duel.
Really?
I know this will be a shock to people who have played with me as long as I've been Rasani.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was not really a PKer. And then I don't know what happened. I was made to PK, and then I kind of was like, "Oh, I'm actually kind of enjoying this."
You're gaining confidence.
So it, I might. It depends on just sort of what day it's on and that sort of thing. Because I play D&D a lot too, so I will choose D&D over text dueling all the time. But maybe I'll be there. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's the brawl is on Saturday, and the brawl is the one that I often will attempt in because it's a little bit just manic.
Yeah.
And I enjoy manic things more than doing the duel because I could probably 1v1 PK a little bit more than I do, but I just don't have the time to code for it. So if I can just go in there and knock people around,
yeah,
I'm okay with that. So that would be at 8 o'clock, 8:01 Eastern on Saturday. So that's not too bad.
I'm kind of weird in that I actually prefer 1v1.
Oh no, a lot of people prefer that over like the group combat, honestly, just because you're just one person at a time. You get to focus a little bit better. So no, I get it.
You can see what's going on a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
My problem in Lessers is that everything's going by so fast that by the time I'm like, oh, I should leave, I'm already dead.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's the way it works, yeah. Tiani, that's you in chat, right? I need to mod you if so.
Yeah, that was me in chat.
Okay. There you go. You're mod now. I try to mod everyone that's been on here, so I should mod you too. There we go. Both of you.
Yeah, I don't generally go into the PK events, but I mean, if I have time and if it's in my time zone, I can give it a try. I'm not going to be very good at it. I'm probably going to be tossed out after first. I think the last time I was in some kind of arena event involving killing people, I first managed to find someone who was not very high level, very new, and managed to kill them, and then I ended up being against Mjol. It's like,
oh boy.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
I almost beat Mjol. I have to rematch her, so I have to join the duel because I almost beat Mjol.
Troll versus troll. There can be only one winner.
Troll. We're gonna have to take our shirts off and put some oil on. And then really
no! Here we go.
We're gonna have to fight to the death. I am demanding. I am working my hardest through my entire career in Atolia to make sure that people know that oil wrestling is a trollish thing. Turkish oil wrestling needs to be in Atolia, and trolls invented it because look at us. Of course we did.
Oh my gosh. Why do you bring this up every time, Razani?
Because it's my goal in life.
You shouldn't have left the guild then. We were trying to like make mud wrestling a thing. So we
I
could have
know,
just switched to oil.
But let's face it. Rasani's too much Templar for the Centauri. I enjoyed my time with Centauri.
I mean, seriously, if I got to pick a guild for mud wrestling, I'd say Terradrim because it's earthy.
The obvious choice.
The obvious choice, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, I need to, make sure that my cat doesn't try to get out of the door by scratching it completely
Gotcha.
to shreds.
I was also going to say that I was amused that you were talking with a spoon at like the bottom of your webcam. I thought that was pretty good. But
She's gonna cut a heart out with the spoon. That's what it's there for.
oh my, that escalated quickly.
No, you don't get that reference.
No, what is
Ah,
it?
Prince of Thieves, the
Prince
movie.
of
Oh,
Thieves.
okay,
He says he's gonna cut a heart out with a spoon. You should go watch that movie.
Yeah.
okay. Well,
I'm dating myself here.
it's okay. I'm probably
It's
still the oldest person here.
I
Now?
think so.
No, hang on. Isn't it? No, it's Alan Rickman.
It was Alan Rickman.
Oh.
Yeah,
Alan
yeah,
Yeah.
Alan Rickman's
Tim
awesome.
Tim Curry is the Three Musketeers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. So
All right.
we have the brawl and the duel. I probably, if I'm around, I will also probably try the brawl. I think that's more up my alley. I'm usually better at group fighting than I am one-on-one. But then again, we can circle back because the Iron Epicurean. I know Rosani, is probably going to do it. What about you guys? Are you going to do it?
The Brawl or the Epicurean?
Yeah, the Epicurean. That is right there.
Yeah, I might do that. It's gonna be fun tossing up another ridiculous dish. I'm basically in it for the RP because it's fun. So
Yeah.
I never go in expecting to win, especially since I'm on Tiani. So
Yeah.
it's just another humorous element for people to look at when she makes a fool of herself.
Yeah, I probably will go. I don't always participate, but I'd love to at least pay attention and see the hilarity that some of the people do with their emotes
Right.
of just like dropping things. But I know when I had Agathaxel, I definitely participated that time, and I definitely did what Tiani does, and I faked it and just like made some terrible thing. It was just all over the place because she was not a good cook, and it was fun. So maybe
I
don't
think
know.
people vastly
I think Tiani
underestimate-
put a whole fish straight into the pot.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that one
Mhm.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people vastly underestimate how much it does for the game to have cooking designs that are of bad cooking. I think that it is genuinely hilarious.
Yeah.
I think I'll go right back to it. It's the same with Elaine and her perfectly fine water. It's just live water, and it will hurt you. I think it's the funniest thing. It's the best design in the game. I've seen beautiful, incredible things made. That live water is the best design in the game, and nothing will convince me otherwise. Except for her casting couch.
Say,
Her casting couch is the close second.
yeah, Xenia's ugly Christmas sweater.
Oh god.
Yes, I remember the ugly Christmas sweater. That is.
I still have the design for that. It's hideous, but so much fun. I mean, she asked Tiani if she could possibly, craft this after her specifics. And Tiani was like, oh, please, do I have to? But yeah, turned out exactly the way she wanted it. So
Yeah. I think one of the big takeaways before we go on the list here that from this entire list and this whole extravaganza all October is the fact that like even just one of these things, like we just talked about with the Iron Epicurean, like it would be cool to have like one of these every month because like people just love these things, like these events and stuff like that.
I would love to see it sort of because we've had a couple of brewing contests. I love that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see almost like a switch on and off. Like 1 month you can do, the cooking, and then maybe a couple of months later you do a brewing. I think that brewing you have a lot of potential to be really wild because just like there's many different ways to prepare food, there's so many different ways to make drinks. It doesn't have to be alcoholic either. Most people pick alcoholic because look at the game we're in, but
you can do a tea or whatever.
yeah. Or lye water.
Yeah, or lime water, apparently.
It's amazing.
But I mean, it would be kind of fun if all crafts got their thing. I mean, tailoring can still be done, measuring and stuff and tossing up a dress or a suit or whatever costume.
I would love a forging competition.
Yeah.
One that isn't to
Yeah,
give
lots of
reward
people
to an
slaving
upbeat
away
song.
around forges and a lot of banging sounds.
I
My
would
first
love
character would walk around with a headache constantly because of the banging.
Don't
Uh,
don't say banging sounds around Rosani. You'll start something.
I will not. It's fine. That comes at the end of the show where I repeat my catch failures.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
no, but
It's not-
seriously, for all the crafts, it would be kind of fun to let them have their moment so people can showcase them.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
what you can do.
I
And
So
wonder
not
there's
if
just
the
totally Epicurean.
I wonder if the players need to start doing a little bit more of that again, because it used to be every so often organizations, cities, whatever, would do some of these things where they would have a different like creative contest, not even necessarily related to having an actual party or anything, which is what we often end up seeing it with lately, but just have it where they would give away, a credit prize, try to draw attention to their organization by having these things. So it might
I mean,
not be a bad idea for some of the organizations to get back in there and try to throw some of these out there again. Not to say the admin shouldn't do it too, but we as the player base, we could try to do more.
I mean, we do have those things. I mean, some guilds and some cities actually do toss up events, but not very many.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I'm saying.
which
Yeah.
is kind of sad, but usually I think it would be better on a larger scale because then more people have the opportunity to participate. So even if it would be a guild holding the contest, let everyone join in so that they can, so you get a bigger participation in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So rather than having it just be in the org where there's such a smaller crowd, go and open them up like we used to, where we had them to the larger crowds and just let people go wild. It's really fun.
I will say this. I think a lot of people are remiss to do it right now because, and all love to the Solani and all love to the new management, but for a few years now, the player base has been carrying the game on their backs.
right.
So I think a lot of us are kind of sitting back like, I did all the work for a few years, now I want to be pampered. I want you to give unto me. And I
Right.
think as people get used to, okay, events really are happening all the time now, and like shit's always going on right now. I think that more and more people will do that kind of thing because I've run a forging competition before. I had a blast doing it, but where we've had quite a while where not a whole lot was going on, I think I think people are kind of like, you know, I pay money to have a membership to this game, and I would like to, I'd like for you to do it for a little while for now.
Yeah.
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 And they definitely are in October.
Yeah, they really are delivering.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
It's
the
gonna
Bob
be fun.
Shoulder icon really is like, can we fix it? Yes, we can. Like, good
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. All right. So let's move down the list here so we can get past this announcement post and do some of these other topics. now,
Really?
now, obviously we could talk about Kingslayer again, but I think we did enough of that. There's not really any of us that know too much about it. But yeah, the next one is when the tournament closes. But more interestingly, in my opinion, something spooky this way comes on the 24th. What do we think that means?
I
Oh, it's
assume it's haunted
probably
house.
related. Yeah, haunted house
Haunted
or
house?
something.
That's
Yeah,
a
something similar.
I
grand.
feel like they wouldn't do they may open the haunted house again, but I feel like because it's been done a couple of years now and they try to throw out something new, maybe they'll try something new. That's actually what I'm hoping for, is
Yeah.
that we'll see something different than just the haunted house. Not that it's bad, or we shouldn't open it so people can go get whatever miscellaneous things they may want to earn from it, but it should be just something unique and different. Be
Yeah.
entertaining.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that runs for a course of time so that everyone can join in and be a thing that, yeah, everyone can participate in or get a chance to win an honors line or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I think it. I think you're right in that it'll probably be the haunted house, but I think it could also be something different with all the gung ho they've been doing lately. But I wouldn't be disappointed if it was the haunted house.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be disappointed if that ends up being it because they're doing so much other stuff
Yeah.
anyway. So I understand if they don't have like the resources to make something new. Just a nice if it could happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, they have plenty of time. They can toss that in later on as well. So I'm not worried at all, especially not after seeing the list of things happening.
Yeah. Yep. And then of course next up we have the capture the flag, which our friend in chat Artsy Fartsy is looking forward to in particular. I've never done a capture the flag on Aetolia that I can recall.
I've never
What?
seen one that I can recall.
What?
No, but
Man.
see, I think I might possibly have been in the very first, maybe. But after that, it got changed or something. So I haven't been in since then because it's always been on different times when I
Right.
haven't been able to be around. This one looks to be at
1 hour before howling.
yeah, but it's a Saturday, so
Yeah.
that's fine. Then I mean, then I can actually make it, even though it's at 1 in the morning. So
Yeah, I did a couple of them on Empyrean back in the day, and they were super fun on there. So I imagine they're probably even more fun on here. And I look
Yeah.
forward to doing that one because with my new job, I won't have to work on Saturday evening. So I'll definitely be doing that, and I look forward to seeing what it's like for sure.
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been on a few of we haven't had a ton of them, but we have had a few, and I think I've been on every one so far. And it's pretty chaotic, but it is definitely a lot of fun.
Yep.
It's
Chaos
not like
and fun.
Empyrean. It is definitely a little bit
Yeah.
different than Empyrean's.
Right. I figured.
Yeah.
And Artsy Fartsy says in chat, CTFs are so much fun because it's not all about combat, but there is combat, and you can be stealthy or go all in, and I have missed that. Amazingly chaotic. Yeah, definitely true. All right.
I'm looking forward to testing it out, seeing
Yeah.
what like.
Maybe they'll make some tweaks to it too. Who knows?
Probably. Knowing Karok, he will make some changes before it goes live.
Yep.
Probably.
What do you think, Rosani? Any words about CTF?
I've never seen it played. Like in all the time that I've played Atolia, I don't think one has ever been run. And I'm kind of new compared to some other people that have been playing for like a longer time, so that doesn't surprise me too much. But I don't think I've ever seen one played, so it'll be interesting.
Yep.
I'm actually
I'm-
seeing if I can look up and announce and see when the last one was.
I
Cause
feel like there was one that happened in the last couple years that I wasn't able to attend, or it was while I wasn't playing for like 8 or 9 months. But
I was gonna say I did take a kind of a break for a bit, so it may have happened during a break.
yeah,
yeah, there was one back in 2014. Yeah, there was one back in 2014. That looks like the
Oh, really?
last
Okay.
time it was run that I'm seeing
Wow.
just from announce post.
Yeah,
at least.
Wyatt just said in chat there was one last year.
Oh, was
Yeah,
there one last year?
Yeah, that's
there
probably
was
the
one.
one I'm thinking of.
Probably.
I think it was
'Cause
while I was on my break.
Yeah,
That might have been when I was.
well.
Oh, I know why I wasn't at that one. So never mind. Never mind. I know
Yeah.
why.
But yeah, it should be interesting, and like I think it'll be. I obviously, like I said, I wasn't there for the last one, but I can't imagine that this one won't be better than the last one because this one we're gonna have even more people down for it because we'll know well ahead of time, and also there's just way more people playing now than last year, you know. So it should be
think-
awesome. What was it? I'm sorry.
I think it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah. All right.
I hope.
And then near the end of the month on the 31st, obviously they have the deadline for the artisanal and bardic entries, so that means we're going to have all month to write that stuff, which is awesome. And then, of course, like we mentioned earlier, the second Starfall that's at a more reasonable time for Tiani.
And other Europeans.
Yep. And then the last event, it looks like it says, is the themed Survivor. I've been in some Survivor Arena events. Those are usually pretty fun. And it'll be cool to see what they come up with for the theme and stuff.
I feel like that one they may just flip the switch and maybe they'll add a new boss, but there is already a Halloween themed boss and mobs that go in there.
Yeah.
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 Again,
Okay.
even if they don't, still not going to be disappointed. It'll be cool to see
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Do we want to say anything else about this post?
Excitement.
Yeah,
Huge.
for sure. I'm gonna move it down the list here on the things we've already talked about, so I can keep track of everything. All right.
Oh, yeah, I'm a rainbow again. I don't know why.
That's okay.
No.
You look fine now. All right. The next thing I slid into the list without telling you guys was the thing you all wanted to talk about, the language and the emotes, the language emotes change. I figure we could go ahead and talk about that. Like, I don't. My character doesn't really know a lot of languages. Like, I learned linguistics on him and then never used it at all. Like, he has linguistics, but I've never touched it. Once I found out how much gold it costed to use and stuff. But so I kind of play him as pretty much just talking common because he's a human or whatever, or Aetolian as it's called. So I'm gonna let you guys talk about this change because it doesn't really apply to me personally.
I haven't used it yet because I haven't been around enough to find people to emote at. But I think the change is amazing. It's something I've wanted or hoped for a long time because it makes no sense for people to be able to speak another language and not to use that in an emote in that sense. So I love this change. I use it a lot because it brings a lot more flavor to role play in general.
Absolutely.
What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I okay, Rasana, you first.
no, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm a lazy emoter when it comes to learning new commands, so it'll probably take me a long time before I utilize it, but I do like it because we had recently an event where the NPC was expecting us to be speaking a very specific language, and it would have made sense for us to be able to hide what we were saying by actually being able to emote in that language versus occasionally we may just switch to the language and use it in says, but if we could actually have it in the emote as well, would have just made the scene a little bit better because then people don't know what's going on in the conversation if they don't know the language.
Right.
And just leaves that little
Yeah.
bit of mystery that there should be. So I do like it, but am I going to use it right now? Probably not, just because, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm lazy.
I'm a big fan of it, particularly because Rasani's so involved in Stonebridge. I know pretty much every language in that area. I actually know a tremendous amount of languages for somebody that, by my own admission, is a himbo. So like I know quite a few languages, despite that. And I think it's great. I like not having to, you know, switch between to make sure that I'm only speaking this language. So I do a says and then I do an emote, or I have to just say in the emote that she's speaking the language she's speaking, and hope that other people are willing to play along with it. You know,
Yeah.
it's I like it a lot. I'm a big fan, and I'm not even one of the people who's super duper duper into languages. Like there are
Right.
people who want to know every language. So I imagine for those
Me?
people, like it's probably, well, there you go. You said you were super delighted by it. So like I
Yeah.
said, everybody who wants to know those languages, like now it becomes a little bit easier to utilize it.
Yeah.
And not kind of, I don't know. I think anything that improves the flow and immersion of roleplay is a good addition to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that's it's a quality of life change that it probably took him quite a bit of effort to do because, like you said in the announcement post, he had to rewrite the entire emote code to do it. And I think that it's one of those things that's sometimes people might forget that you can do it just because it's a new thing that's not like, I don't know, it's not like, it's one of those things that I think would be easy to forget that you can do now. So I hope people remember to do it, that it's important to, for sure.
It's like the think command that people, not a lot of people used it from the beginning, but it's picked up more and more, I think. Being able to use the think command to convey thoughts and people can sense them or see them with skills or with these goggles and stuff. So yeah, think command, it takes a while for things to pick up, but I am hoping that people are using this because it is it's going to bring life to linguistics, the skill, make that more interesting.
Hmm.
And yeah, just being able to pick up on, speaking to different people and keeping things secret if you want to. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
great immersion tool.
Yep. It's one of those corners of the game that it's nice to see it getting improvements and changes and stuff. Because there's
Yeah.
so many corners like that in a game like that. This wasn't on the topic list, but as a little bit of a tangent, it reminds me of the recent changes they made to provisioning. Finally, well, in that the market board itself, like they actually put like all small orders on the market board recently, but they didn't post about it. They just made it one of those OOC announcements that you saw if you were logged in at the time. And it's nice to see all the little talents and skills like provisioning and linguistics actually get like love and stuff. So it's a good stuff. All right, I guess we should move on to the next thing. Did you guys see the latest weekly changelog from the other day?
No,
No.
I think
Uh,
there's
yeah.
two, maybe.
Let's see. Yeah, there's a few, but I'll start with the newest one, which is the weekly one, the automated one. So there's a lot of, well, I think earlier in the week they post that they made an emote for like flipping your hair back or whatever. Wasn't
Yeah, that
one?
was last week's one. Was the
Hair
hair
flip.
flip?
Hair flip emote. Yes, that's right. Because
All right, they made one for bald people.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
they
there's
made the balls
actually
near where you
They-
smack your head and
They
yeah,
made one for Iliadon, pretty
Oh.
much exclusively.
pretty
nice.
much.
So basically, there's two weekly changelogs because the first one that had hair flip was on the 20th, which would have been a couple days after our last show, and then there's
Yeah.
this one from the other night. So there's a lot to talk about here. Let's see here. The hair flip emote, obviously a big deal, and then we have a bunch of things that in regards to mining and bomb crafting and stuff like that. It's really cool to see again, just like the other two that we just discussed, bomb crafting. I didn't see a whole lot of people using bomb crafting until it was just required basically for mining. So it's nice
I'm
that
going
Yeah.
to wait just for a second. So.
okay.
Yeah, bomb crafting was a skill that, and like I have most of the crafting skills, but bomb crafting was never one that snagged my attention.
Yeah.
Um, Mostly because yes, you can use them in combat, but most people don't.
Right.
So I'm glad to see it given some use. I think that will be really cool for people who did buy the skill and then found, oh, it's not as it's not as versatile as I wanted it to be.
Hmm.
I haven't touched mining yet,
Right.
so I know very little about mining other than it was released, and I'm very happy that it was, because I don't care so much about making the commodities as much as I care about my ability to purchase
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. We'll talk about mining a little bit here in a second, but go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, I think that's probably going to be something we see as any of these new skills come out. Is any side craft that doesn't necessarily get as much love, they'll probably start trying to drag in things that come from that skill to help encourage more use of it and make it feel like you're getting some worth out of it. Because yeah, bomb crafting, while you could take them into combat occasionally, or you could just go screw around and annoy the crap out of people with them,
Hmm.
it really wasn't that utilized.
Right.
But now, yeah, everyone needs those and wants those fuse and sonic bombs to help clean up their mind. So
Yeah.
it really helps.
It was a
I
really
would
good
like
idea.
I would like to see something done like that with fletching, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh,
Agree.
I know. I've met maybe one or two people who go, "Yes, I use fletching,"
Right.
and it's a shame because I have access to a bunch of really beautiful fletching designs,
Hmm.
but I never fletch ever.
Right. I have it too.
So I think that it could be very cool to see fletching get. I don't know how, other than like a different, I don't know, an all fletching class.
Right.
And this is an unpopular opinion. I care so little about mirror classes. I would rather see something new done.
Right.
I think it would be really interesting to see an entire archer class.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. We haven't really seen it before. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do like mirror classes though.
Right.
So, take me with a grain of salt, but I don't particularly care about them. Also,
I oh, go
Carnifex
ahead.
mirror didn't get dogs, so what's the point?
Well, I think that might, the mirror classes are great just so that we can finally have class balance. That's the big issue. Is everyone's like, oh, but they have this class that has this ability, and it's always
Yeah.
been a big gripe. So if we can get past that, if everyone has the same stuff, just with their own unique, tether side flair, then I think that it will be easier to go and make other classes and immediately also have either they be neutral or be able to be easily mirrored right then and there because you've already developed the code and you can copy it and kind of translate it all at the same time so they could release classes, dual at the same time a little bit easier. So it makes for a better model moving forward to get the old classes out of the way and then start developing. But I do think that having some sort of archer class, more than just what Sentinel does. Sentinel is kind of an archer class, but
Right.
not quite like Warden
Sisson as
was from
well.
Imperial. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah, I
could
know
we
what
could
you
do
mean there.
something a little bit more unique. Yeah, it has arrows and you use them. Same thing with Sizzon, but it's not really enough to consider
It's
it
like an
a full
aside.
archer.
It's like an aside for to justify having the different things inside of fletching, essentially. Like,
Yeah. And honestly, we could use more just ranging in general to make combat more interesting,
yeah,
but that's a whole other conversation.
yeah, for sure.
It definitely would be like, I don't know. I think it would not only make combat more interesting, it would just make the guilds more interesting. Because like or even if like I don't know. I always thought it would be very cool if you had, let's take a military guild for example. You've got the people who have that military guild skill, like let's say the Carnifex. The Carnifex use their big glaives and hammers and smash people real good. And then you've got some mage nerds at the back, and they do mage stuff. And then I just always thought it would be cool to have an actual battalion. So you've got
Yeah,
some archers, you've got some melee people, you've got some magic, that would be pretty cool, even just from culture building within a guild.
yeah,
As you can tell, I don't have much to say about combat. I care more about the culture stuff within the guild. And
yeah,
I'm sure it would make combat more interesting, but it would just be cool because then you have different paths for different people if they want to focus on being an archer. It's also sort of the same thing I've felt about a class that's kind of devoted to being a support class, like a healing class.
hmm
Um, and again, maybe this is just because I like the idea of having people that are dedicated medics or whatever, because it branches people's RP out instead of, all the Templar have the same skills, and that's fine. But it would be cool if you had a Templar that joined. It was like, oh, I'm sorry, like I kind of know how to use the sword, but really my specialty is this, and they can, you know, heal people or whatever. They can do group
It
heals or whatever.
sort of used to be that when it was the paladins, because you could either be angled towards the sword path, which was fighting, 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 or you could be more of a scholar knight. And then you would be, I mean, my character wasn't very much into fighting, so she would be, you know, more of a scholar knight, but still could do things with rights or helping out in that way.
Oh,
So
certainly. And we still have plenty of like there's a shit ton of paths in the Templar right
yeah,
now. But it's like it's one of those things where it's like yes, and people will absolutely role play taking care of wounds and that kind of thing. But it would also be cool for that RP to extend into the practical use of skills. So like
yeah,
I can't RP healing you in a lesser because
yeah,
somebody will just fucking kill me.
yeah,
But if I had a skill set that was support, where I can cast a little heal or I could do a little thing, then that extends your RP out into the mechanics of the world around you.
hmm
yeah,
As funny as it would be the first couple of times of being like, I'm gonna heal my buddy, and then somebody decapitates me, it'll eventually get old. Um, And I don't know, I'm always just kind of trying to think of ways that like this would sort of help the immersion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I think some of that does come. People need to be a little bit more creative with how they review their classes. And we've had discussions with this Wilk and some others of us in the past about how underutilized some of those support abilities actually are. There are a ton in every single class if you look at them in a more abstract or creative way that you could use to just do support of your fellow teammates instead of solely focusing on actually taking part in the combat itself. Now the bad thing is that I could see it, potentially classes that are focused solely on that. That would be fun. But you'll end up seeing what you see in places like World of Warcraft, where if you're going into PvP, the first person that they go for is the healer.
Right.
It's always going to be the healer. So if they know that you're in that healing class, they're going to kill you first, and then they're going to go for the other people. They're going to go for like the lower levels, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not something where we're going to see PK change, as
No.
far as focus and everything. It does definitely expand people's creativity and role play. But I think more people need to actually look at their class, look at the abilities, and find ways they could definitely role play someone that does support more than just the PK itself.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. One thing I would say about, because we were talking a little bit ago about mirror classes and stuff, is like, I wonder, and particularly Rosani saying that she'd like to see new things. It's like, because there's so many classes to mirror still yet, like, how many years do we think it'll be before we see, like, potentially see another new class? Or will we ever, Like, I don't
well,
know.
that's sort of the thing is that it's like movie remakes. I don't need the 17th remake of Spider-Man.
Right.
You can show me something new, and I would prefer to watch that. I haven't seen any of the new Spider-Man because I don't give a shit. I know Uncle Ben dies. I get it. I've gotten that part already. So it's like, yes, it's cool that now Shadow Side people can be Templar, or we have sort of a Carnifex thing, but like, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Sentinels seem to really like what it added to their RP, and I think that that's spectacular. But I think that, in much the same way that you can RP being a healer as a Templar with Templar skills, you could also RP that cool, intense, like order or whatever that happened before the Sentinels without mirroring another class that already exists.
At
And
the
I'm
same
sure
time, I can understand why they mirror things because it makes things easier to balance, and there is less chit chat and frustration and general discontent about balancing issues and bias and whatever that has been going on for years and years and
Yep.
years. So if you have mirrors for all the classes, they will not have that to put up against, admin. I mean, the job that Kirok has done is phenomenal. I mean, he's sort of a hero in his own right. Just, dealing with trying to balance people's different ideas and stuff, and it would make life easier for the people coding and putting in changes and giving us new things once that thing is eliminated.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
just,
can completely understand why we need the mirrors.
yeah, it's just like, how long, how long is it going to take to get through that, though, Like, it's like,
Apparently, they streamlined it a bit now when they did the first mirror, so the next one is going to be a bit faster and then faster again, probably. So they know how to do it. And I
yeah.
think, yeah, hopefully it's going to not take too long. But I mean, seriously, if we look at how things have been set up lately, I'm not as worried about scheduling issues now as I was a year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I admit I'd be willing to wager that part of my frustration with mirror classes is that the release of the Mirror of Templar entirely fucked my system for about 4 weeks.
Right.
Nothing worked, and now we have to go back and change
Yep.
everything back again.
Yep. We talked about that last week or something.
Yeah.
I didn't
it's
get to rant
frustrating.
about it, so now I'm going to rant about it.
That's understandable. I mean, it's
And that's
like
kind of the frustrating part is like it's it screwed up a bunch of people's systems for a while, and now we have to they're going back to unscrew it, which then screws us again because we have to go and fix our systems again, and it's like, is it worth it? Like, is it worth the the headache of it being screwed up like that?
Yeah, but they get better at it every time they do it. So next time they'll probably not change all the, syntax things for the previous class
Yeah.
because they know it screwed you guys over. So next time that won't happen because they've done that mistake and it's okay. Now next time we'll do better. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's
I
I'm
think
like Tiani. I'm very much an optimist that I think it'll keep improving. Yes, it'll be frustrating for a while. That's the way it is with, you know, it, I deal with code releases all the time, honestly, with my work. And that's part of the frustration is obviously there's always going to be hiccups. Even when have done a ton of QCing, done a lot of quality checks, there are always going to be hiccups when it gets released, especially for the first time you're releasing part of that system, but it gets better and it continues to get better as you build upon it and as you get used to coding for that particular thing. So it's going to get better. It's going to be a lot less frustrating with us as it goes along. We just kind of have to grit and bear a little bit so that they can get need to be so they can make the game better for
Mhm.
us.
I mean, looking at the chat, we've got Foe Hammer, who I assume is Mule,
Yep.
saying that Revenant still doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that in of itself is kind of like, this mirror still doesn't work, and we're several months now out from it being released. And oh, it works now.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, the class works now. It's got a couple of
It's
things.
just not coming.
Missing.
The rite of
Okay.
prayer is not
Yeah.
complete because they want to build some RP for it
Rite
and
of
a couple
Spirit,
of
but
other
yeah.
things. We have rite of spirit, whatever the version's going to be.
Yeah.
But the class itself, it works. They just don't have some of the kind of flare things that Templar currently has. So they need the flare, the extra pieces.
And additionally to that, I guess my position is that we did grin and bear it for several years, is what
Yeah.
we ended up doing.
Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of my feeling, is that I get that people may want mirror classes. I just hope it isn't the focus, because we've grinned and bared a lot over the past few years, and I guess I'm just not interested in grin and bearing it more for the sake of having a mirror of Terradrim or something.
Yeah.
But
Oh
we'll
man,
see.
I would so much. I want Terradrim.
I've never gotten to play that
I
I
class
gave you
at
the
all.
wrong example.
I love Terradrim. I love Archivist. I keep making shadow characters briefly just so I can play the classes because I
Just
want
so you
them
can
so
play around
Right.
on 'em.
badly. Yes, they're
Yeah.
fantastic.
I want
They've
Prey
got such
Nomen back.
great lore and skills. Oh,
I really enjoyed Prey Nomen when I used to play it. It was like my favorite, and I'd like to have it back.
Praenomen isn't bad right now, but it's not great. But it does have that RP like
Yeah.
feel of it. That yes, I miss that sometimes too.
And
So
I was gonna say about the mirror Praenomen because I think they admitted in the public Discord weeks back that just because of how Praenomen works mechanically, if they were to mirror it, they would have to keep it the resource as blood. So it would be interesting to see how a spirit Praenomen would use blood. You know.
Oh, that
I don't think that they would have to necessarily use blood in the same sense because blood has spirit and shadow in it, lore wise. So it
Right.
could easily be something Duamve based where they kind of suck on spirit from the person versus Praenomen do the shadow part. It could be really easy to do that comparison there.
Yeah, but there's the way you can kill people in PvP with like decreasing their blood to 0.
Sanguinated them, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think they would want to change that. Probably be like it probably would be difficult to like change that to like something else. You know, I think you could make it work with it being blood on both sides. I think it would be interesting.
depends on if you see it as life force or whatever instead of pure blood.
Right,
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
if you just count it as that, it shouldn't be that tricky to explain what's happening. If your life force drops down to 0, same thing as if you completely drained of blood.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even think, in terms of Praenomen specifically, I'll circle back to, I don't know that it needs to be an exact mirror. I think I would be interested in seeing something that's like of equal power, I guess, because I'm seeing a few times in the chat that it's crazy, like an ungodly powerful class. I would be interested in seeing a different class that sort of fits the lore better, because for a Templar, for me, like I have a Dwambi, I would be disinterested in playing a Dwambi class that is literally sucking the light out of people,
Yeah.
because that's sort of the opposite of what I'm trying to
Well,
do as a
Right.
Templar.
right. Well, I think that to make it parody with Praenomen, that the spirit Praenomen would probably have to be something related to Dwambi, because of the fact that like vampire is the subrace for Praenomen and Dwambi is a subrace for us and stuff. And
It
Yeah.
would. I just think that the flavored text and like the way because like I said, if you're sucking all of the blood out of a person and killing them that way, that makes sense for a vampire.
yeah.
But
I
I
think
wouldn't want to suck all
it
the
would,
spirit out of somebody, because again, that's the exact opposite of what I'm trying to do to the world.
it would
Yeah.
be kind of interesting if you did it the opposite way, so that if you're fighting an undead person, you're sort of infusing them with
Yeah.
life, and
With
then all of a sudden they can't take it, so that's why
Yeah.
they die.
I think that that could be very interesting. I'm pretty sure there's a class that kind of does that. That pumps you full of so much shadow that they fucking kill you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, biomancers
Yeah.
also.
Yeah,
I think
Sciomancers
so. Yeah,
basically do that. You
Biomancer
just
pumps you
Yeah.
full of shadow and then you blow up.
Yeah. But I mean, if you did something like that, but with spirit, and trying to bring life to an undead, and I mean, it would probably make their bodies fall apart in some way, because they're not used to actually having life force in that undead body. So
Right.
could work in some way, but yeah.
well, and I think even not even with the undead, with the whole pushing too much spirit or even channeling spirit out of people, just kind of depends on which way you go about it. Either way could work for even living people you're having to fight for the class. Because if living people, if they get too much life essence in them that they aren't normally used to having, I could see them exploding too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, too much of anything is the bad.
Yeah, too much of anything.
Yeah.
Balance.
Yep.
Exactly.
Balance.
Yeah.
Yep.
balance is good.
Yep.
At the same time, I mean, spirit is not as alluring maybe as shadow would be, because shadow is the kind of thing a power hungry person might want to draw a bit more of, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
what I
Oh,
picture
you
when
really
when a
do.
person dies from like too much spirit, they
Mhm.
explode, and then it's kind of just nature grows. There's flowers
Right.
everywhere. It's so pretty.
Yep. Just sunlight and flowers and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. You're farting flowers. There you go.
Yep. Yeah. In relation to all that stuff, I hope that if they ever do that, like with a spirit brain omen and it's tied to Dwamvi, I hope it has something to do with the Dwamvi in general, like the ones that came and gave the skills to the Templar, because like I haven't seen Abon, however you pronounce it, Aban. I haven't seen him played but once in like the 2 years I've had this character, and I think they're very fascinating characters, and we just don't. I mean, they literally, and like some people don't even know this, they literally live in a tower in Anorian, like, and I just never see them get role played with at all, and I just think they're a fascinating thing that just doesn't get touched too often. So
Could be difficult picking up after a long time as well. So
yeah,
if you're up in pools, picking up on a storyline without being, prepared for it, or being in that character, knowing what they've said before or what they've done, is kind of tricky in
yeah.
general. So
Yeah.
And I know Neon V is our guild tutor in the Templar, and she's a Dwamvi, and she does
I
talk
love her.
sometimes. But
I love her.
but
She's
like to me,
fantastic.
to kind of keep it at parody, it would be cool, because like I know it's completely different because vampires have their own role play that's been changed 1,400 times in the past 20 years or whatever. But
Well, they're
like,
led by a twink. What do you expect?
well, what I was gonna say is the fact that like we see Aberash come around every once in a while, but you see Aberash come around a lot more than you do a Bon. So
true.
Yeah, a Bon is sort of an interesting sort of. My understanding is part of it is like, it's he's very important. A Bon is their
yeah,
leader,
yeah,
so I get him not coming down and talking to us a bunch because he's got other shit to do.
Well, but what is that stuff, and can we help him with it? Or can we get a report on it or something? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just, what is that stuff? I don't know.
Yeah,
It would be
it's
cool to see.
I think my understanding is Aban is also played by a specific person,
Okay.
and it may just be that they've taken a break or whichever. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I remember Aban being played by like one specific individual.
Yeah.
So it could be that kind of a situation.
Yeah. I have no idea. I just know that the last time I saw him played, it was pretty fun and hilarious to me. But
Yeah, he's great. I love Aban. He's kind of a goof. He's great. Nyanvi, I like so much that she cried, and then I became a Dwamvi. So
Yeah.
that's how that worked.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've been on a tangent here for a while, so let's go ahead and we talked a little bit about some changelog stuff. We could talk a little bit about mining, and I don't know that any of you three have done mining. Have you done mining other than me? You have? Okay, me and you could talk about it a bit.
No, I have not done anything. I've just been watching Death Sight and the war.
yeah,
We're on Ant.
yeah, the great mining troubles of whatever year we're on.
Oh my gosh, the XP loss at what level am I at? 188. It hurts so much.
I bet you're like, what killed me? There's
Exactly.
hours.
It's like no, it was. I got hit by too many bandits.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, some of them can be pretty brutal. Particularly obviously the dire ants are probably the biggest threat in the mines. But I've managed to blow up a couple of dire ant nests myself in my mine. It was very difficult though, and one time they did kill me. But you basically have to like run into the middle of the nest, drop the fuse bomb, and then you have to like hope you don't die all of a sudden. Run off and like kite them somewhere, go back, lay the fuse down, and then like hope they don't kill you again. But it's been interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching it from the sidelines as well. It's like, oh, there goes another one.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the lore implications of a bunch of literally demigod adventurers getting bested by ants. It's
Fair
the
enough.
greatest.
Hey, they're big ants.
They are very big ants. I didn't have that
tried
big of an
on
issue
one.
with
Like,
them
come on.
until they ganged up on me, though.
Yeah.
That's where you run into the issue. But yeah, if you kite them around there,
Yeah.
they're not too bad. But
Yeah.
they're huge ass ants. You're going to get hurt by them, and it's going to
Yeah.
sting.
And
Just that simple.
Seriously, look at the spiders, the giant spiders that you have in Aston.
Yeah.
Spiders are scarier than ants, though.
Bugs and stuff, arachnids, and then in comes big ants, and it's like, okay, yep.
yeah.
But on the other hand, if you look at stuff like that, it's like the evil geese on Tucana. It's like
That's
I
100%
hate the
more
damn
accurate.
those
geese.
are evil geese.
That's 100% accurate to the world. Geese will kill you and feel nothing about it.
All right.
And
We got a
it's kind
follow.
of-
Thanks you for the follow. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it.
See, geese is what
Woohoo.
brings people in.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
on topic of mining, because like we've had it for a little bit now, and I've done a bit of it when I can. There's been a lot of changes as we go. There's been a lot of bugs as we go, and I still think it's fine. I think it's great, and I think it's going to keep getting improved. There's some things that I don't understand about it. Like I don't know if it's supposed to be like it feels incredibly slow to have the gnomes do the mining on the veins. But that might be by design, so we don't all like have thousands of these ores all of a sudden in like 3 days or whatever. I'm sure that's the case, but it just feels like there's a lot. Like if you leave your farm unattended, which is the other agriculture skill, it doesn't feel as disastrous as it does like if you leave your mine unattended for a really long time, because like it feels like your gnomes get knocked unconscious very quickly, like once a day minimum, at least for me. And that
I was about to
seems
say, my report, I think I've had it. It happened initially, but then I went through the mine and cleared as much stuff as I could,
Yeah.
and try to do that for a couple of days. And yeah, I haven't had my gnomes knocked out except for just one of them
Yeah.
ended up getting knocked out. So it's not been too bad. So maybe a case where you have to go and
go
really
and clear it. Yeah.
go dive in
Well,
and really clear it.
I wonder if the stuff respawns or not. Like I don't know that for sure. I haven't heard
It,
that.
it it does
Like,
respawn, but it doesn't seem like everything respawns. Like I've
mm,
seen the dire ants definitely do if you don't blow up their hill because I
right.
don't bother. And I've seen some worms reappear, but I haven't seen the bandits reappear and some of
Gotcha.
the mantas and a couple of others. So I do. It's probably going to be situational. Am I 100% certain? No, but I've not seen specifically
Yeah.
those ones reappearing.
Yeah, for sure. And I do like that. Unlike, well, I like the idea that if you just don't like the way your mine is set up, you can like close your mine and then like pick another one. I think that's a really different way of doing it over farming because like obviously with the farm plots it doesn't matter where you place your farm plot, whereas with this mining it's much different. Like you know, it's nice to be able to have that choice and not be stuck to one type of
Yeah.
like ore and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but
I do think that they didn't think about the 5 day limitation for early on. Because I was the idiot. I think I said something in the chat in the Discord when it happened. But I was the idiot that day. I converted all of my bound credits to lessons. That was like 700 in lessons. And then I didn't read the ABs. And I went and just picked out the first spot I could find and made that my mine. And
right,
just, I was really daggone stupid. Um, so if I had to have closed that mine myself, I would have had to wait 5 days before I could go make another mine. Luckily, they were nice enough to make an exception
yeah,
and let me go ahead and get another one. But I do think that was a failing point early on is putting that limitation. I get why, and I get why it's good for later,
yeah,
but for the first week, they should have allowed a little bit of more leniency, especially if you get in the mine, you realize, oh crap, there's not much in here. Although, if you end up being like Sizabor and you just want to mine the little nodes in there and you don't want to
yeah,
deal with the gnome part, then you would have someone that's just going to every mine and stealing all of those things
yeah.
and closing mine after mine. So I guess there's probably no good solution there.
Wyatt's
And yes,
poking at you in
I
chat.
know. Don't judge me so much, Wyatt. I swear. I swear. It was a bad day. I hadn't had coffee yet. I was really tired. I should not have been touching things.
for the
I did it
people
anyway.
for the people that watch YouTube or watch the VOD, Wyatt, our wonderful Solani, said, quote, they didn't think this through, quote, proceeds to not read anything and get the first thing possible.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, the mines are really cool. Like I'm looking forward to see how it all works out. Obviously, I think it's going to be a bit longer before we see how exactly that impacts the commodity prices. Because like I have people from like I had somebody from Durin randomly sending me a tell being like, "Hey, what are your commodity prices set at now?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. I'm not the trade minister. Like I'm research minister guy now. Like I don't know." But people are very interested to see how this shakes out with the commodity prices, and I think it
I
will. We just need a
Metal
few more
I know
weeks.
who asked. I know who asked.
Right.
Like metal's been so expensive for so long. There's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
so little of some other sort of now is stone out with mining? Is
No.
stone part
No.
No.
Okay. I'd be interested to see how they deal with stone as something that people have wanted for a bit. You don't need it as much anymore now that housing is done with room credits and that kind of thing. But
If you have furniture craft, it takes quite a bit of stone to make things.
Yep.
takes quite a bit of time to make things. There's
Statues.
I make a lot of
Yeah.
statues.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
jewelry is really frustrating with the metals and everything because there's the base cost of gold and silver, and
Yep.
that's also used for
city defense.
for
Enchantment, which is what
And
I have.
enchantment and for apothecary, and I mean it's used for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And crafting has been really difficult to keep up with if you haven't been out running to villages constantly.
I have a policy of not charging newbies for armor and weapons.
I
Because
basically hand things out to newbies.
yeah. So I lost a lot in terms of how expensive metal was. So I'm hoping that things go back down to where it was when I first joined the game, and I could just buy, fucking 300 steel once per week, and it didn't really, damage my bank account too much. It was still a lot, but it was it was much more doable because unfortunately, there's also a pretty large subset of people who don't seem to understand that the reason that forging is so expensive right now is because metal is so expensive right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's
So,
like if you look at prices for enchantments, they've gone up as well because people suddenly realize that, oh, I'm selling this for no profit whatsoever. I'm taking a loss.
yeah.
Because they suddenly had to up their prices. I I kept when they made the changes with commodities and everything back when they basically scrapped everything back to zero. That at that point I started adjusting my prices. So my prices really high in the beginning and everyone else was low, so I didn't sell much because I was on the high end. Now I'm at the low end, but because I have adjusted it.
Yep.
I think just, I don't make much profit from those things because I know enchantments are necessary to some degree.
Hmm.
Much like, pills and uh, elixirs and everything that has to do with curing. People need it. So it's not really meant to be profitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a balance between how much time can I spend on this week versus how much do I have in stock.
Yeah.
So if I have a lot of time to make new pills, well, then I can lower the cost for them, basically giving them out. But if I don't have much time, well, then I can just price for a bit so I don't have to worry about running out of stock and people can pay me more money at the time.
Yeah.
It's stuff like this that because there are some artifacts that if you're trying to run a shop or trying to get involved in crafting at all, you wind up losing gold because if you don't buy this particular artifact.
Yeah.
So it and I've brought this up many times and I know why they don't do it because it could lose them money and that sort of thing. However, I've always thought that a guild should be able to purchase some of those artifacts. Maybe not the brewing ladle because you don't need to make booze on the cheap, but there's stuff for a forging hammer, for example. I
Yeah.
don't see any reason why a Templar guild or any guild that uses heavy armor and weapons wouldn't have a forging hammer to make weapons. So like
Yeah.
there are some artifacts that I think you should, even if you could charge the guild more credits than you would charge a player, I think you should still be able to purchase that artifact.
Yeah.
And then just have it sit, the guild has a forge in their guild hall.
Yeah.
Have it sit there. You can't take it out of that forge room. There's some kind of prog on it that says this cannot leave this room, or if you accidentally leave with it, it just resets back to that room, like a shop would with a
Yeah.
keg or something like that. I don't see any reason why a guild shouldn't be able to do that because otherwise, people are losing money making things that people, like you said, need.
They need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as a playing devil's advocate, as far as them trying to sell artifacts and stuff, I think a good compromise to something like that would be to make it to where one person in the guild could use it, you know, so that they can still reasonably sell people the artifact and whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah, but then what happens when that person stops waking up?
no, I mean
Set
like make it a thing
decision.
that the guild master can set on
Yeah,
one
set a
person at a
position.
time.
I see. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
So the guild forger. There you go.
yeah, we
Yeah,
have one of those
yeah, we do. We
actually.
have a position for Master Smith. So, like, say for example, there's a Templar owns it. If you have the position of Master Smith, you can then use that hammer.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think that would be fine.
all right.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to use that to segue because we're talking a good bit about crafting now. We'll talk about the styles of crafting, but I want to tell everybody first about the giveaway before we go into that. So we do a giveaway of 50 credits every week, and I went ahead and started it while we were talking there. For those of you that are just listening in the background and aren't like looking at chat, you can come to chat and type exclamation ticket space one, and you'll enter. And I'll draw it at the end of the stream. And if you happen to leave before the end and you win, I'll try to figure out who you are in game and give them to you. But we'll do that. We'll keep it open and then we'll draw it at the end of the stream. So hope everybody keeps entering. So we get. I'd like to keep seeing new people get the giveaway, like different people. I mean, so that'd be cool. So yeah, let's move on. Like I had some ideas for us to talk about this week. Of just discussing the different styles of certain things in the game. Like for example, like styles of crafting. Like some people, in my experience, like to do crafting for profit, like where they make a bunch of different designs just to have unique designs to make profit off of in their shop. But then there's people that are more like me, where like I just use my crafting when I get inspired by someone and I'll make someone something, you know. And then there's people that like to literally like the lady that I used to live with for a year who literally enjoys having spreadsheets of designs and just bulk crafting and crafting and crafting and crafting and crafting. You know, like just like I just find it fascinating that some people might think that a trade skill is just to make money when it's not. You know, and that's just different for everyone. And I'm just curious to see what you guys think about that.
I think it's kind of I'm a mix. Um, I take on commissions. People usually approach me and say, "Hi, can you do this for me?" And I generally fix things very quickly. I also do some bulk just to keep it at my shop to keep that rolling. Um, Crafting for profit, not so much. It's just you keep things in the shop just to make sure that people have access to things like decent clothes, pipes, whatever is needed in woodcraft and stuff like that. But I made something while ago. I think it was a year or two ago. I decided to pick up perfumery
Ooh,
and decided to make a brand. So a line
yeah.
of perfumes called Level,
Ooh,
and then I decided to um, make different kinds of scents and just call them Level and then something right after. And it's been fun discussing it with people, and I've worked on a poster to set up in the shop so people can have some help with how to pick the right scent for themselves.
oh,
And
that's cool.
it's been kind of interesting. Um, Always get asked about stuff regarding that one. So I think crafting, you can basically do it however you want it. It's still fun.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Um, I'm somebody who crafts a lot, shockingly, I'm sure. Um, and nowadays, when I first started, it was one because I was interested in making things, but two, I had a couple of shops. At one point, I had like three, and it was a way that I made gold. Because at the time, people weren't experimenting as much with the stats you could have on a weapon to get the perfect, whatever. So it was I want 180 speed on my sword no matter what. So it was a lot easier to stock your shop to make sure that the kind of weapon that people wanted there was there for them. My tavern, obviously, I make enough with the tavern just to keep it running, frankly, and that's fine by me.
Hmm.
I am fine if the tavern just pays for itself and nothing else,
Yeah.
because I have a lot of fun owning the tavern. And brewing is, I think, other than forging, is probably my favorite skill that I have. But honestly, most of my best crafts come from some kind of story thing where it's needed. Um, Either a god demands some kind of tribute, or Tana's Altus has done that to me twice now. Um, so I really enjoy those kinds of RP where, for whatever reason, something needs to be made. It's always a little bit more satisfying when something in the story that you're telling has demanded that something is made.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I can make cool armor and cool weapons all I want, but it's always a little bit cooler when, some Dewanthi comes into town and goes, "I'm in need of a weapon," and you're like, "Oh, bitch, I'll get you. I'll get you a good weapon." Like, that's always just a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
Um, and I get
And
commissions session too. That's a lot of fun too. But I prefer things with a little bit of RP behind them. If you RP with me, I'm gonna enjoy making your stuff a lot more.
I mean, I've had, sessions where I've measured people for tailoring, making sure that I
Absolutely.
get the right measurements for your whatever it is I'm making for you. Or sit down and take down specifics and give people a rough sketch of what I'll be probably giving them at the end of it. Do you want to see the full thing? Just sitting down and having an RP session about whatever it is that you're making is fantastic fun.
Absolutely. And posters, I'm glad you brought up posters because
Yeah.
I am somebody who makes a lot of them. Mostly my drink pinup ones, which
Oh God.
I think are a fucking hoot. They're a riot.
This has
And
turned into an ad for Rosani's posters now.
it's
Oh boy.
I just think that they're so much fun, and I wish more people had fun with posters like it sounds like you're having.
Yeah.
Posters are so fun, and the RP you can have around them is intense. So it's like, I just wish more people should make posters. Is what this is. Posters
I mean,
are so fun.
posters is fun. We had we were trying some fun stuff a while back with wallpaper, but sadly, you can only put up wallpaper in buildings that you own,
Um, that's a
which
bummer.
means that you can't go over and plaster, for example, for me, Aspirian, going down to Enorian and plastering wallpaper everywhere in the temple of the Aspirian lion,
Mm-hmm.
which is sad because that would have been hilarious RP. But posters work sort of similar, so we can plaster all of Enorian with that. It would be
Good.
kind of fun.
That would be something. That would be a hilarious thing to have a war over.
Well,
How dare
There have
you,
been
poster?
wars. There have been wars over posters. Actually,
Oh,
there
really?
between
Wow.
Enorian and I
It,
forget what the other org was, but
it
yeah,
was
there was people.
Templar. It was the Templar and Chakrasol.
Oh
Was
no.
that what it was? Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Benedicto had a poster made of him taking a dump on Chakrasol's throne.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that started a war, and people were really upset about it. I actually, both Bloodlock and Spines Reach, am enemied for putting a poster up advertising my tavern.
Oh
Both
no.
cities have called it littering. So,
So,
you
yeah,
know,
It's
it-
this is
fair.
the kind of thing that's fun. I mean, these are the kind of things that we should encourage because it is some kind of conflict, but it's not on a PK level. And if people start complaining too much out of characterly about, oh, they did this and it's not fun, well, let us at least try to have fun for a bit, and then you can try to RP a way around it in some way. Because
Yeah.
there are a lot of, a lot of things that just don't work.
yeah, absolutely. And if you're
People
gonna
get upset about the little things that they don't really need to get upset about in a way. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
People get upset about the smallest things. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. It's just human nature. Frustrating part of being a human is dealing with that fact that people
Yeah.
just get annoyed at everything and anything and like to be very and well, not everyone likes to be loud, but a lot of people like to be loud about it. And it's just like, oh, come on, guys.
Well, what do you think about this conversation about the different styles of crafters, Ririn?
Well, I do kind of a variety. Lately, it's mostly been inspired. So I'm having an RP session with somebody,
Mhm.
or, we're just, friends or whatever in the game and what have you. It'll be inspired related. But I've definitely done, like Tiani said, and I do crafting for the shop to make sure there's a variety of things to cover what people need, some basic clothing, some things that are going to be useful for novices and whatnot. But I have done some bulk crafting and some for profit, mostly for organizational purposes, for like helping bring in funds for the org. But I don't focus on that like I used to, because you can make gold on other things now. It's not really necessarily as needed. but I definitely like just primarily inspired crafting. I think most of like the food items, drink items, and other things that I've made with my current character and the recent, yes, I know, very many retirees that I've had have been inspired based and been just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most fun things for me have been when people start some kind of events in the city that has a theme, so you can sort of work on that and get engaged in crafting outfits for whatever they are trying to toss together, and someone can make the food. And
Yeah.
I mean, those things, I think they're fun. I know that some people think that it's, tedious, but at the same time, it brings a lot of life to the game when you have those things rolling now and then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep. So, yeah, like I said earlier, my experience is that like could I craft things in my shop to make profit? Yes. Do I want to spend the time that I have in game doing that? No. Do I hate crafting? No. I actually like it when I have an idea in my brain that is put there by somebody's actions. Um, and I've been doing that a lot lately. I've made a few people some specific things just as a gift to surprise them, be like, hey, like whatever you did inspired me. Here's a thing for you if you want it, and I give it to them. The last thing I did that for, actually, I was like, you know what? I don't have an engraving quill yet, so I bought an engraving quill just to engrave this item I made for this person, and it was like
Yeah.
400 credits, but like. It wasn't like I would not use it in the future because I was like trying to have an excuse to buy it in the first place, and I was like, okay, this would make something like this would add a really cool flair onto this thing I made for this person. So that was cool, and that's just the way I approach it.
Yeah.
And Wintico, who is Maddie, said, pretty much me, Eric's. I enjoy crafting, and I try to at least spitball prices according to what I pay, but I also just eyeball it, and I especially love making things for people. Yeah, yeah, and I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I think when a lot of especially newer people are like, oh, trade skills, I learn these if I have a shop or whatever. No, it's not necessarily true. Like
Yeah.
a lot
You
of it's
can,
for role play
do
purposes.
it. Yeah, just if you want something done, you don't even have to get it. You can actually approach people who know the skill and ask them if they can push through a design for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
And
happens a lot.
I will happily do that if I get some RP in return.
yeah,
It's
for sure.
like universal payment when it comes to me is you give me RP and I'll help you with anything.
Yeah.
Okay, need a punching bag? Sure, RP with me, and you can beat me to death however many times you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can also be fun to like co-design a thing with someone. Like for example, something that happened with me recently was that Saran, Sarran, wanted some crates to put food in for the villages or something, and wanted me to design it for them. And I'm like, okay, so like I designed this, but then I'm like asking them on Discord. I'm like, okay, what is there anything specific you want on these things? And then they tell me what they want on them. It was like in big letters, food here or whatever. And I just kind of did the rest of it myself. And like I wasn't super inspired to do that, but yeah, it was more like, okay, this person needs this out of me, so that's enough for me. So there's all kinds of ways you can go with it.
I think one thing that regarding sort of the shop thing and that kind of thing is oftentimes there are some people that will say no to you. But for example, with me, if you're somebody who likes to cook or brew or whatever, but doesn't have a shop of your own, I'm more than willing to let you have one the shelf in my a shelf in my tavern, and two the money you make off of your
Right.
designs. Like I think unfortunately we're in a place where there's a lot of people who log on just to make sure their taxes get paid and then don't log on anymore
Yeah.
are now kind of hoarding shops. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of new people that won't really get the chance, other than maybe outbidding the outrageous prices on an Esterport shop, to get to run a shop. And cities don't seem super keen on being like, well, you haven't logged in a
Yeah.
year. I think we're going to take your shop away from you. So it's one of those things where it's like, I think that people who have shops, by and large, are a little bit more open to helping out people who want to shop, but they're just, because everybody who has a shop has been the person who wanted the shop, but had
Yeah.
to wait or spend all their gold
Yeah.
to get one or that sort of thing.
Ac-
Everybody's been.
Actually, I was taking a small break when work was getting too much for me, so I was like, is there anyone around in the city who would like to learn how to work a shop? Contact me. And then someone stepped forward, saying that I would like to, help out if I can. And I basically made them partners. So they could go in and restock, and I basically left my Spirian shop to them to handle. Sadly, they had to cut down on their playtime, so I took everything back again. But it's sort of like an open thing, so if they come back, I can probably put them in again. I think that is kind of a neat thing. Do you want to practice, see what it's like to have a shop, and eventually maybe take over? Just to let people give it a try.
Yeah.
Guilds having guild shops, I sort of don't like that idea.
Me either.
I would prefer if the guild had a small selected general store within their guild hall,
Yeah.
selling whatever it might be needed just for, hunting purposes and stuff,
Yeah.
or
I,
guild themed things, and leaving the city shops to individuals.
I think on top of that, we would then have to let guilds have a cache. For example, with the Templar,
Yeah.
half of the purpose, honestly, at least when I was running the guild shop, was we wanted to have a little bit of every kind of material around because
Yeah.
eventually a knight has to design their shield. And we didn't
Yeah.
want somebody locked out of a material they really wanted to use just because they didn't have the gold to do it. So I think that on top of like just a storage room in in a guild hall where you're like, okay, here's a cache where you can put pills to give to newbies, venom that people will need, that sort of thing would be great. I think that
Guild cash would be a really nice thing, or at least, a small shop with a cache where you can put things like, an NPC selling a uniform or things that you really need for your guild, or neat flavor things. And then a cache where you can buy or hand out things that are needed. Uh, I'd rather have that than have them take up a city shop, because the city shops should be to individuals
yep.
because they're shops.
Yep.
and on that they should also be for individuals who actually log on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I get that that's kind of a touchy subject for people because like there are some folks who log on and upkeep multiple shops of friends who don't play anymore or whichever, but I think that that's part of the problem of not people
I don't
not being
think that
able to
that
try out
works
actual shops.
anymore. Um,
Well, it
well,
does
yeah,
if there's a tip jar.
the
Yeah.
tip jar only works up until you you count as dormant, because
Yep.
then the tip
Oh,
jar.
right.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I
so you
had
still
Sometimes
that
have to
people
log
issue
in
when
every
I
so
was on my
often.
break. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great change, because the tip jar shouldn't work if you are not considered active playing.
Yeah.
So,
Unfortunately, the what ends up happening is that people then log on for a second to transfer it to a friend who still plays. And I think maybe a good thing for cities to do would be to cap the amount, because I think Anorian did capped the amount of shops you could have in the city,
oh,
unless it was a guild shop. Like if you were
Spines Reach
like,
has that too. You can only have one shop in Spines Reach per person.
because we were running into a situation where we had one, a couple of people in Anorian who one of them logged on to make sure the taxes were paid, and the other one didn't log on at all. Um, and we also have a thing now with shops in Norian where if your shop is left empty for a certain number of weeks, we take it away from you.
Yeah,
Because you're clearly not logging on, you're not doing anything in it, you're wasting the space. Like,
yeah.
I just, and I know that that's unpopular. There are a bunch of people who the last time I brought this up were really pissed about it. But, like, if you're not playing, you don't need the shop. Like,
Right.
if you come back and you want to buy a shop again, cool, great, excellent. You're not going to lose those artifacts, and, it'll be fine. But,
Yeah.
You're not playing anymore. Like,
No.
give it up to somebody who wants a hand at playing it.
Yeah.
Like, if I were going to quit for good, I would sell my tavern to somebody who wanted it. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
just
don't know.
it's weird how like shopkeeping is such an integral, unique thing in this game, and it's just so heavily gate kept behind, again, just certain individuals that play forever or don't play forever. It's like it's weird because like you have those of us that keep playing and playing forever, and that's fine, and we have these shops, but then you also have the people having them that don't play forever, and it's just weird. Like it's really going to be hard to actually have a solution to it. I think that's the key thing to remember, because you're at some point there's probably going to have to be a solution that hurts someone somewhere, and that's the sad, unfortunate truth about it. But I wanted to reply to Wyatt in chat. He said, "What about orders having shops? He'd be interested to see the thoughts there." Personally, I'm with Rosani, and or maybe I'm not with Rosani, but I don't think that these shops should be for anybody but individuals. I think making them for organizations is stupid. Like, I don't know if it's stupid. I just think I don't like it. I just don't like it.
They should have a
Or
different solution.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
shop.
What the
a
hell does an
shop
order
that-
need gold for anyway?
And
Uh,
technically, the org, if the city ever decided to make the choice on it, they don't have to recognize that it's owned by an organization.
Right.
That's just like a blanket thing to allow people to say, yeah, it belongs to this org. But realistically, at any point, it could just be considered that last person's
Yeah.
individual property, and they could do whatever they want with it. Is
Yeah.
that a bit cruel to say that? Maybe. But also, when it comes to like orders, if the order's kind of dead and it's not that busy, they really don't need gold for anything.
Right.
Just have the stops sold and make that the decision you make as the order rep or whatever. Just sell it.
I don't
No,
think
there's
that's a bad idea
there's
from
a chat
Monty.
message saying that maybe make a single city shop. There is a general store for every city. They basically have a city shop where things are sold to people.
Yeah,
Um,
it may be good to
absolutely.
like expand those again, have more supplies again, and then reduce the prices. But that would be the solution: is have that city general merchandise store be more prevalent again, like it used to be.
Yep.
I think Embercoat has a good one. Again, order shop somewhere where it isn't interfering with shops that players can own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
that's
for guilds.
because if, I think there is merit to creating a culture around people being able to purchase, things that relate to their god. I
Yeah.
think rare beads are underutilized. I think that there's a lot of things that are kind of underutilized that would be really cool to see, make a little bit more prevalence. But and this is something that I've already talked with admin about many times, and they said, no, it's never going to happen. I don't see why a player can't build a home and turn that home into a functioning shop. Like, I know you can make one where you get no gold from it and it's only the same 10 things that
Right.
are on sale at any time.
Yeah.
That bores the shit out of me. Like, part of why I like a tavern with a bunch of kegs is because if I make something that I'm like, oh, this is awful, I should have everybody try it, like, I can just do that and then it doesn't have to be there forever.
Yeah.
But that's the way that building a shop in your home works right now, and it's kind of a weird, stupid limitation, because you can, in theory, build pretty much anything in your home. Really, once you've purchased the rooms, an admin doesn't come in and go, "No, you can't have this description in this room."
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Like, I understand why they won't let us expand onto the shops that we already own, because we won't own them forever, and then we'll have spent real money expanding them.
Yeah.
But I will own a house forever, and I don't see any reason why that couldn't be a shop as well.
Mhm.
Like, I don't
Right.
see what it exploits or anything. I guess the concern is it doesn't become a gold sink at that point. You don't have to pay taxes. But I paid you real money for it. So I don't see why I should have to pay taxes because I gave you real American dollars. Like,
One thing I wanted to say real quick on this topic is, and I don't know if it's like this for all orders, but I know when my character was in Ethne's order, the old Ethne Temple, which I guess was probably the old Orisei Temple, does have a
Mhm.
shop, or
Yes, there is a
but it
shop
was
in
Yeah.
hit.
the Orisei
Yeah,
Temple.
and we were like
Yeah,
designing things for it and stuff too. So
yeah, and that's really for the god to really decide if they want to do is have a shop that has things made by the players to be for the players to have access to. That's all fine and good. The problem comes into is what the reason why people have these shops is because they want to be able to control the merchandise that is offered. They want to be able to place it themselves. They don't really want to necessarily wait for the divine to come back around or for, the guild master, if it's a guild one, if it was led by a guild, etc. Have to wait for that person to be able to go around. So this is kind of allowing them to have that control rather than having to rely on the admin to do the work. Now, I do like the idea of being able to have something where you could put that order shop in their territory or in their temple and having some way to have players be able to interact with that shop and be
right,
able to place items in there. That would be useful, like Rasani was saying about prayer beads and whatnot. But I don't know how coding wise that would go. That's my only thing. It's like I
yeah,
keep thinking about it and I'm like, I don't know that there's anything existing, so it'd be maybe nice to have in the future. But then it also negates the shops and negates the fair market that has been kind of the cold way of handling it across all IRE games. They work pretty much the same. That once you have a shop, you pretty much eternally have it.
right,
So I don't
Yeah.
know if they're going to be willing to invest in making something like that, even if it would be pretty cool.
I mean, I guess and this is again my callous Union Dyke answer to that is this is a fake text game. The,
Yeah.
the free market doesn't exist because it's text on a screen. Like, so I think at a certain point it has to be, is the player base on the whole having a little less fun than they could be having because we've decided that there's only ever going to be 6 shops in one city or however whatever number
yeah.
it is.
Well, it's because that
Like
number is not flexible at all to the needs of the player base. That's the
like
thing.
if the city wants to go, you know what, we're going to expand and build 3 more shops so that newbies can try their hand at shopkeeping,
Yeah,
then I think that the city should be allowed to do that. It's
absolutely.
their guild, it's their city, it's their money. They should be able to do it.
Yeah,
It's just creating a fake scarcity, which in turn I think is part of the reason why these people who stop playing and keep their shops don't want to give them up because they're like, well, I'll never get a fucking shop again
yep.
because we
Yeah.
created the
That's the
scarcity.
key. Yep.
I mean, setting up lease shops, sort of like Esterport has, where you can rent a shop
Yeah.
location. That would be kind of neat for all the cities as well, because then you can set, you can lease this one for this and this amount of term, and then it can be like, okay, once you've done that, you're not allowed to do this again, or we can just limit it to people who have never tried shopkeeping before. It can be
Right.
regulated by the city.
Yeah, certainly if you own a shop in the city, you can't then lease a shop in the city, sort of thing.
No, exactly.
Or
Yeah.
even, hell, I would even be fine with them saying, Ritsani, you own a shop in Esterport. You cannot own a shop in Honorian. All right, I got a shop in Esterport. That's totally fair. Like, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of ways that we could make shopkeeping a lot fairer
Yeah.
to new people, that I just think the people who have gotten theirs are not interested in talking about it
Yeah.
anymore. Because they've got theirs, they don't care if you get yours, and I don't know,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just silly. Because like I
Yeah.
just think it sucks for some people that come into the game and they learn about shopkeeping and they're like, wow, that sounds really fun, and then they realize, wait, I can't get one. And
Yeah.
that's just that's the brick wall. Yes, you could probably role play with people that have shops and you could talk to them and be like, hey, can I have a shelf in your shop? But like, it's not immediately obvious if you're someone new to the game that that's an avenue that you can do, and then it just makes it feel bad because it's like, well,
And and
you know,
also you don't have as much freedom, because then you have to clear anything that you sell with the actual shop owner.
yeah,
So, and you can't create the atmosphere of the shop and that
right,
sort of thing. So I get it. Like, I get why people want to own their own shops. And I think that we should make it easier for people to own their own shops.
yep,
If somebody's willing to go, hey, I've got 500 credits, can I buy can I create a shop that I own and can change the wares of whenever I want and make money from.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that is such a big deal to admin, because they're getting real money in exchange for somebody's ability
Yeah.
to earn fake money.
Well, also, there's plenty of artifacts for shopkeepers to buy, and if you're limiting how many
Oh,
shopkeeper is, you can't even like sell these artifacts that make the game money. You know, like
I'm
it's
so uninterested in knowing how much money I've spent on shopkeeping artifacts.
yeah,
I will keep that a secret forever to even myself.
yep.
Yeah, I sort of know how much I've spent for that one, and
A lot.
it's something you talk about.
All right, we should go ahead and move on to another topics. We could probably, I think we all could agree we could talk about shopkeeping for like 8 more hours, but
Yeah.
Oh god,
yeah,
Uh, if there's a lot of noise coming from my end, and you're wondering what that is, it's my cat has suddenly decided that I need to play with him, so I'm
right.
playing fetch with him.
Well, that's
show
fine.
us your cat. That's
Yeah,
tribute
right
to
now
us.
he's hiding underneath a
Uh,
hole.
Oh,
Or no, he's trying to rip it apart. I'm tired of him. Hang on.
people are chanting "cat" in chat.
cat,
That
cat.
that was difficult to say as well. Cat in chat.
This is Royce.
Oh, we're
Oh,
on
I
a cat
love
break.
him.
Look
Is
at
he a
that cat.
Bengal?
No, he's a Savannah.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Pretty
yeah,
kitty.
uh,
Look at
that's
that big old
Royce.
cat.
He likes playing fetch.
Excellent. My
Yeah.
cat does nothing, so.
Best
Alright.
toy ever, feathers, and then a bell, and then you can just toss it. He'll go fetch it, and after a while, you toss it again. And that's basically my evenings.
Love that for him. What a king.
All right.
Yeah,
So
sorry for the break.
we can jump around a little bit here, and again, we don't have to do all these topics that I listed in the Discord. We could save some for next time. I'd probably like to go, for another hour or so if y'all want to. But I was thinking we could talk about the one I listed, the styles of roleplay first, because I know it's come up. Like since I made this character personally, I when I used to roleplay on my previous character, I wasn't really into using a lot of the like when you emote. I could emote and stuff, but I was never one of those people that put like the things that you say inside of the emote, like with the quotes and stuff.
All right.
So that and honestly, shout out to Lexon because Lexon kind of broke me of that when they were mentoring me and role playing me on this character. Like I got more used to doing that. But there's some people that use a lot of. They don't even want to use custom emotes when they role play. They just want to use says or they want to use premotes. I've done a bit of that as well. And I just wanted. I thought maybe we want to talk about like the different styles of how people role play and emote and stuff. Like, what do you guys think about that sort of thing?
Either way, I think people do they. I mean, if they want to do premotes, do premotes. If you want to do say. If you want to add emoticons at the end of your say, do that. If you don't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a game, and you play it for you, and for you to have fun. No one should impose any rules on how you should role play your character in any degree. In that case, in that sense,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've just heard people over time being like, "Oh, you use too many premotes and stuff like that," and I'm just like, "There's times when I my brain doesn't want to like write an entire novel in an emote, like."
If there are people out there who try to pull people down for just using premotes or just doing says or whatever, please stop, because
Yeah.
it's not something you should be doing. Be happy that someone is interacting.
Right. For
I
sure.
mean, it's an interactive game, and if people interact with you, don't be unhappy with how they interact with you. Just be happy that they do.
Yeah.
And I love doing long custom emotes, and I can do them mixed with says or premotes as it comes naturally. It's just what's good for the time.
Right.
It's I mix things up as best as I can, because that's it feels more natural that way.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about that? Like the different ways to role play and whatnot.
I I have certainly I've had conversations with people that I've wound up RPing with quite a lot. Um and I was something that I was sort of unaware of, but it came out that I guess people sometimes will see a short emote as an indicator of your lack of interest.
Mm.
And for me, and I've explained this to a few people and they've started to get it. For me, I feel because sometimes I'll write really long emotes, but it's really only if it requires it. I don't put a lot of flowery language in or anything like that because at the end of the day, I am telling a story with you. I'm not telling a story at you. So I've always felt, and this is nothing against anybody who writes long emotes. This is just like
Right.
my own anxiety about writing long emotes. I worry that I am hogging the scene
Right.
if I write an absurdly long emo. So like I tend to keep it kind of concise. And sometimes people view that as a lack of interest. If I'll say it now, if anybody who's listening wanted to RP with me and thought short emotes were a lack of interest, it's not. It's just
It's
that
not.
I feel that I am telling a story with you collaboratively and I don't want to take the spotlight.
Yes.
So that's sort of my feeling on it. Um, I RP with fucking anybody. If all you do is says at me, that's fine. If all you do is glomp me, then we're gonna run out of stuff to talk about really quickly. But
Right.
a lot of the times you find people who showed up here only using says, and then you come across them a couple months later and they're writing really beautiful emotes. Sometimes it
Right.
just takes people time to get into the rhythm. And I
And
think you deny yourself some great characters if you aren't willing to go, well, not everybody's going to write a novel when they're replying to me. And
no,
that's okay.
Yeah.
We can still tell a good story together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How,
definitely.
how do you feel about that, Raren?
Well, I'm a mixed bag. I definitely am tragic case of I can write some really damn long emotes. It's how my brain works.
Yes,
But I
you can.
tried yes, I can. Um, but I do try to do a mix of it more than I used to. So using says, using brief, paragraphs instead or brief sentences. Try to make sure, especially if I see that the other person is not using long emotes, I try to make sure to keep it more to what they're doing to be respectful to their level of not necessarily capability, but to the level of what they're willing to put into it, so that
Yeah.
we don't have anything weird going on there, and they don't feel like I'm this, over the top role player or anything. I want them to feel comfortable. So that's it ends up being a lot of a mixed bag. I try to just gauge how it's going. And if they're doing long emotes, by golly, I'm gonna give you paragraphs. If it's gonna be someone that is just gonna give me, a say, I might do a very shorter one. I may just use says, but I kind of gauge it according to the scene and who
Yeah.
I'm interacting with. I try to just be respectful.
Or,
Yeah.
not too intimidating if it's someone I've
Yes.
interacted with before. You don't have to toss out a huge, multi-layered kind of thing, because people will probably think that, oh, yeah, I'm not that good, so I'm not going to talk to that person again. Please never feel
Mm-hmm.
like that, because it might be that I feel inspired by you coming up and talking to me. That means I'm tossing something out that is like, oh goodness, thank you for coming in here and talking to me. I am so happy. Can you please stick around
Right.
and just keep talking to me? Doesn't matter if you write me one line.
Yeah.
If you keep me engaged and you make me feel like happy because you are trying to interact with me, just, you know, stick around. Do your thing. Don't be intimidated by me, but I will try to respect you. And if you don't want to read rolls of texts, fine. I'll cut them down. That's okay. It's not a big deal for me, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
might be, enthusiastic because someone is speaking to me, and I don't want that to be frightening to people.
Yeah, and I like what Wendigo pointed out because this is a lot of what I do right now, and they know it for a fact. Is I do a lot of tells RP
Yeah.
where I don't necessarily go meet with the person. I don't go do that direct interaction, but I still get something out of it. I'm still speaking to them remotely. I'm just having a conversation, and I find that to be plenty sufficient as far as being able to interact if that's what the person's comfortable with. And if it's the only thing we can do, because, people are out doing their own daily tasks or they're out bashing, they may not have time to sit down and do an RP scene. But if we still keep conversing in tells, we're still continuing that relationship and that, conversation. Well, I keep saying conversation, but yeah,
Building up
keeping
something.
that going.
Yeah.
Yeah, building upon it. Exactly. So I really do love tells RP. It is fantastic.
I'm looking at what Artsy Fartsy said here about having huge RP anxiety.
Oh yeah.
Uh, don't worry about grammar issues. I mean, my language is not English. My first language is not English. I've learned through playing this game. When I started playing in 2006, my English was not even close to this level. And right now, I'm a teacher in English in Sweden. So
Wow.
it's changed a lot. And I mean, you should never feel like your grammar skills or your writing skills are beneath someone else's and feel intimidated and not wanting to make a mistake in front of someone in this game, because in this game you are meant to try to enjoy yourself and play your character to the best of your abilities. And if someone can't manage your grammar mistakes, then that's on them, not
Yeah,
on you.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say something rude. They're being an ass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're
are.
being an
That
asshole.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because
So
I
never feel like it's a problem for you. And even if you can't shake it, even if it makes you feel like you don't know what to write, stick to short stuff. It's fine. You get there eventually, but you have to learn to put yourself out there and dare to put yourself out there. And that's something I need to speak to my students about every time, because they don't dare speak in class because their friends or classmates might feel like they are laughing at them or snickering at them. But if you don't practice, you won't improve.
Right.
And if you don't practice in front of people in this game that can possibly help you, it, you know, put yourself out there. If you feel like, yeah, I need some help, can you give me some pointers? Come speak to us. We're a good bunch. We can help you out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just stick to the small stuff until you feel comfortable around someone, and then you can build on that.
Yeah.
It's we're all good human beings.
Yeah, and I was going to say, as far as like RP anxiety, I just want to point it out that pretty much all of us get it at one point or another. I get it constantly. I really get it the most when there are huge crowds of people
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
my job involves me being around large crowds of people all week. When I want to relax, I don't want to be around large crowds of people anymore. I want to be in my tiny little group of a few people and enjoy myself. So I get anxiety all the time. And if there's someone that, in some cases, is doing really huge emotes, even I still get overwhelmed with that sometimes. It just makes
Yeah.
me question my own RP prowess and my writing when I deal with that sometimes. So I even have to constantly really kind of pull myself up and really give it a try, give it a genuine effort, even though I have those issues. But if it's, something where it really overwhelms you, there is also no shame in just saying, maybe another time, taking a break and go
Yeah.
do something else. Don't feel like you're going to, I mean, you might disappoint the person, but don't feel like you have to go interact with that person if they're engaging you. It's just like with anything else in life. Feel free to go find your safe space. If you're really having
Yeah.
some anxiety issues, just take it at your own speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As about the thing with having anxiety, I mean, every time a divine or something pops into the same room as me, ah, my brain stops working, and suddenly English, I don't know what it is, and then it takes a while for me to get around and realize that, oh, right, emote. right, what am I supposed to do in front of this person, this amazing person who is up in pools? They know so much more than me. Oh, this is going to be so bad. And then I write something out, and I think it's sort of like maybe half decent. And then I press enter, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, why did I write like that? I used the same word 4 times. And
Right.
I know it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because they came to talk in the same room as me, and it's like, yeah, they're people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just nerds like the rest of us. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's like emoting is like you're telling them how your character's acting. So
yeah,
so at the same time it's like is that you're expressing how your character's acting, so it's like, well, how are they gonna think about how my character acted? So then you're always like second guessing yourself and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just too stupid, but I I've never had that issue interacting with gods in Etolia.
Mhm.
Uh, and you know, like as evidenced by the fact that I've gotten yelled at by a good number of them. But it's I always look at it sort of this way, and this might be a weird way to look at it. But it's it's sort of the progression of I don't know if any of you have ever watched Critical Role, but you look at Travis Willingham, who the first D&D game they played didn't want to RP at all, and he just wanted to smash things, and he was never gonna RP romance or anything like that. He just wanted to hit things.
Mhm.
And then second thing comes around, and wouldn't you know it, his RP got better, and he's RPing things he never thought he'd RP before. And the only way that you get there is by doing. And if anybody is treating you like a shithead or that they're better than you because they, don't have grammar issues or because their emotes are fucking 7 million pages long, they're an asshole and you can just stop interacting with them. Like, you really are just like, it's, if it sucks, hit the bricks. Has anybody seen that picture? If it sucks, hit the bricks. If they suck and they're being shitty to you, you don't have to interact with them.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you shouldn't.
Just
They
walk
don't
away.
deserve to interact with you if they're being a dickhead. And I think that the community has actually gotten pretty good in recent. When I first joined, mind you, it was not the case. People were throwing slurs around all the time, and it was really a disaster. But the community has gotten pretty good, I would say, now about just deciding, you know what, this person is shitty, this person's mean to people, we're not going to interact with you. We're tired of it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that, it is, if somebody's mean to you, just fuck them. Go find somebody who will be RP with you and be nice about
Yeah.
it.
I think one of the things that I've been talking to some people about has been a potential to change how webs work, that the one creating the web could possibly toss someone out
Yeah, I
of
think
a
that's a
web.
long needed change in my opinion.
Yeah, it would be really good because then they can actually, remove someone who might be speaking about things or acting in ways that are not acceptable to people in general.
Mhm.
Just toss them out because they're not welcome anymore. And if they want back in, well, we'll think about it. See if we can invite you back. But, removing someone from web without everyone quitting the web and then creating a new one shouldn't be necessary
Yeah.
if someone is acting like a jerk.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to say on the topic of the different styles of roleplay, I was thinking about this. Actually, I wasn't thinking about this specifically, but our roleplay we did in the Templar last night reminded me of it. It's like I think I'm pretty good when I emote and roleplay with people, like when it's 1-on-1 or even like 2-on-1 or whatever. Like I'm pretty good at doing that. I can think clearly, I can emote well and stuff. But when it's a room full of people, I don't want to interrupt anyone, so I just don't do anything, and like that was part of the problem I was having last night because we had about I think it was like 7 or 8 of us, maybe 6 to 8 of us in our little guild event that we were doing, and people were saying in web like, "Wow, why you're not saying anything, you're not doing anything," and I'm just like, I don't know what to do because it's all going so fast. I don't want to interrupt anyone. Like I just stand there and act like a bodyguard essentially. So, and that's
I think
just
that's
how I am.
true
So
for a lot of people. And I think it's something more experienced role players need to know that they need to shoulder a bit more responsibility. They need to make sure that hi Oz. They need to make sure that they shoulder a bit of responsibility by giving other people space, uh, giving them room, pulling them in, and then giving them time to respond in some way if they want to. Could be with a simple tell just to be on a different level,
yeah,
bring them into a conversation, or um, we're talking about something here. Can you come over and talk to us over here? Uh, just small things. Pull them in and give them time if they want it. And if they don't, well, that person has every right to just shrug a shoulder, look the other way.
yeah,
It's a simple emote to just do that. I'm not interested in interacting. I'm just looking at the people in the room, and that's fine.
yeah, yeah. I just think some people maybe are stronger in smaller one-on-one role play than they are in groups, and I think that's a interesting dynamic that says things about each person, which is kind of
Yeah,
cool. Some people are better at it than others.
exactly.
Yep. All right. Yeah, we can move on to the next thing here, unless you guys got anything else to say about styles of roleplay.
No, I think that was
Do
good.
you and
Okay.
have fun.
Okay. And I think we're gonna skip around again, and because I wanna talk about this a bit. I think it'll be a fascinating topic because everybody goes through this. The idea of taking breaks from Aetolia. I think I can't think of anyone who hasn't done it. Like even out of all of us, really long time players off and on. I say off and on because I myself have taken several breaks from all the Iron Realms games, and it's like I think that it's important to do that every once in a while because I think all of us can get burned out on this game, even if we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like I think that sometimes you need to miss something. I mean, this is an obvious life lesson to a lot of people, but sometimes you need to miss something to appreciate it more. Um,
Yeah.
and I think, I mean, like what you all do, like when you decide to step away for an extended period of time from Ayatollah, what do you do? Like, what do you fill the void with typically? Like, what other hobbies and things and happen like things that you would like? What do you do when you're not playing Ayatollah?
Oh, I read.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantasy books. I'm writing my own fantasy book as well, and I draw a lot, painting acrylic paintings. Um, yeah, that's basically it. Oh, I did download Uru, Beyond the Ages of Mist from on Steam
Ooh.
recently. So yeah, I'm going to go through all the Mist games because I love puzzles and stuff.
What about you guys?
Rerun.
Okay, I was wondering if you wanted to go
Sorry.
first, if you want me to go first. Um, it depends. When I took my big breaks in the past, because I've definitely taken some of those, I just went and had life. I didn't really stay around playing games or
Mhm.
anything. I just went out and, you know, tried to make sure to stay away from the computer. That was my big thing. It wasn't even anything specific, just constantly make sure to keep myself away from the computer because frankly, I have an addiction to Atolia. That's
Right.
really what it is. That's the reason why I still even play at this point is an addiction. And I mean, it is interesting, but it's something that I really should be able to step away from a little bit better than I do. These days, if I take myself a little bit of a mini break or something, I am often playing Diablo. I did do World of Warcraft again for a little while, but even that just it's not the same anymore.
Agreed.
Or I have a 6-year-old son as he decided to come in here and make faces at you all. I just go hang out with him and go do things at parks and just try to get out of the house. It's definitely easier now than it used to be to just step away and have a breather.
Right. What about you, Rosani?
Um, I do a few things. I draw quite a bit. I've gotten back into it recently. I took a very long break from it after college, because art school makes you hate making art. Um, I'm a pretty avid player of games. But the biggest thing that I do during my free time, honestly, is playing Dungeons and Dragons. Um, that is, and that's mostly because I like it for the same reason that I like Atolia,
Hmm.
is because it is a collaborative storytelling effort.
Yeah.
And that to me is a lot of fun. Um, there's a little bit more freedom in D&D. I don't, but that doesn't mean that it totally doesn't have its bonuses as well. Um, but that's sort of what I do. I enjoy thoroughly collaborative storytelling in all of its forms.
Yep. Yep. On my end, when I was gone the past 8 or 9 months before I came back recently, it was mostly because like I was having that huge life change of moving across country, and I just wanted to like change everything and see if I see if it would be better for me and that sort of thing. And it was in a lot of ways, but I just when I left, it was also coinciding with like some bad things that happened in game that made me like just not want to play anyway. But then it was also nice that it happened right when I was making a big life change anyway. So it was like a good way to like miss the game while I was gone and think about it and stuff like that, and just do other things with my time. Like I'm a big MMO fan, so I played a bunch of MMOs while I was gone. I haven't mentioned this before, but while I was gone, back in like I'd say October last year to December or so, I played Eve Online again for the first time in a long time, and that was a lot of fun.
I basically I've stepped away from computers when I sort of like Ririn does. Just, not sitting by the computer, doing something else instead. For example, like reading.
Yeah.
It's just, it's been relaxing. I've also, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years, I moved to a new apartment, so I got a garden, which means that I actually can be outside for a bit. Just, you know, not doing much gardening because I'm not that kind of a person. I need to, tend to it at least a little bit. And I've been building a fenced backyard, so I had to put up some nets to keep my cats in. And little one that you saw, he is an escape artist, so he not, likes to try to climb my 2.5 meter tall fence. Been a constant battle keeping him inside.
Yeah. Yep. Do you guys like when we're away from the game for long periods of times? Do you think about it, or do you just like empty it out of your mind completely? Do you ever like wonder what's going on, that sort of thing?
It's an addiction, so I hop in and just check things out, and then I go.
Right.
I have forums up so I can go in and check it, and I talk to the people because the people of the game, they're friends. You don't just skip out on the friends, so you talk to them and you keep up to date in some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time not like checking from the portal website or checking the forums while I'm away, even though I should be a little bit better about it. I'm doing it a couple times a day, even if I'm not logged in, just to see if there's anything going on, if everyone's, as kind of what Tiana's saying, if everyone's doing okay and whatnot. But it's definitely always a little bit in my mind.
Uh, when I took a break, I didn't particularly think about Atolia. I would hear about stuff from because I'm dating somebody who plays Atolia,
Mm.
so I would hear some stuff about Atolia, but I was never, if I was taking a break, I just had other shit I was doing.
Right.
As long as I have another way to get that creativity out, I don't particularly care either way.
Right.
So that can be from anything to playing in a tabletop game, to running one, to drawing, to whatever. Like I only ever got really like, oh man, I was thinking about Atolia a lot when I was too sick to do other things. Like if I got like the flu or whatever, or when I was recovering from surgery,
Hmm.
I couldn't do anything else. So that's when I started thinking about it, because it was something that I could do. But you know, it it never really crossed my mind if I was taking a break from it, because usually if I was taking a break from it, it was because something had irritated me to the point that I would rather walk away and then stay and blow shit up.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I was gone 4 years between when I retired my shadow character and when I made Eric's, and it for me the impetus of coming back was like having that like sort of near death experience where I was hospitalized. I just thought to myself, I'm like, when I got out, I was like, am I gonna just keep doing this same crap, or am I gonna like try to fill my life with something I enjoy? And then I thought about Ayatollah because I really enjoyed it when I played my shadow character, and I was like, I'm just tired of being mad at something that I enjoy, you know. So I just
Yeah.
got over it and decided to try something new this time, and it's been, for the most part, it's been pretty good. I've really enjoyed being back again here recently. There's pros and cons as you go along, but obviously I'm still playing, and I intend to for a good bit longer. So, and but yeah, we could go ahead and let's see here. We could go ahead and go to the next topic. We're gonna do one of the more controversial ones that I'm sure Rosani thinks I'm being a troublemaker for putting on there. But we talked about the different styles of role play and crafting, and I just wanted to talk about the idea of the different styles of leadership in the game. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. This is the one.
I think that
this
this
is the
is.
end.
I think that you shouldn't be too quick to just, think that it's contentious because I think it's basically similar to emoting and being a role player.
Hmm.
There are different styles, and that's fine. As long as the organizations actually move forward and that there is a chance for people to help out or change leadership if it's needed, then why not let people lead in different ways? That's
Oh,
just
I 100% agree. The only reason I think it's a troublemaking topic is because there are 100% people who feel that there are a set certain things that every leader must do.
Hmm.
oh yeah,
And I think that that is a dangerous line of thinking.
yeah,
And in fact, I have seen it happen to a couple of orgs. And in the time that that happened, those orgs suffered quite a bit. Because if you don't have a balance between the leadership of your guild or your city or even your order, then everything's going to fall apart. Because
Yeah.
not everybody cares as much about something as you might. And that's sort of a hard pill to swallow, even just in real life. Is that
yeah,
just because you care a lot about something doesn't mean that somebody else does.
yeah.
But that's why I think it's not because I think that different styles of leadership are bad. Quite the opposite. I think that trying to impose your idea of a leader onto another leader is a bad thing to do.
Right. It's better to offer to assist in other aspects they might not necessarily want to handle, or support generally. I mean, I know that I heard some people thinking that I was going to try to take back Sciomancer Guild after the revamp and stuff happened. I was not at all interested in being in a leadership position anymore at that point because I was completely burnt out. Uh, but I mean, people make assumptions a bit too easily and think that you're going to be upset about how things have changed or, you know, if someone else takes over and everything that you've done for the guild is scrapped because the new person wants to do it a new way. Well, yeah, you put a lot of effort into it, but it's a game.
Exactly.
Right.
Uh, Let them run the guild now because it's not your responsibility other than to keep doing you and trying to keep the game fun
Yeah. I think it's
for other
important.
people in the organization.
I think it's important that, like, and I've said this before, to understand that, like you just said, it's a game, and that I think there should be some level of churn at the top of all the organizations. I just think it's more healthy, and that's a word they use a lot in the metagame of like Magic the Gathering is churn. Like they create new things in that game in order to promote the health of the game, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that that could be said for politics even inside of Atolia. It's like, um, you know, that is kind of what politics are. It's like people deciding what the best style of leadership is in that moment and stuff. But I think there's less churn in the game at the top of the orgs than what I would like personally. Um, but you know, that doesn't mean that even if I like, for example, even if I think that one of the orgs I'm in, I don't think I would lead it that way, doesn't mean I'm like trying to down that person. It's just like, just because something's a different style and I think a different style would be cooler doesn't mean that I don't understand that the style that we have is good as well, you know?
Right.
And I think
It
people
stings.
misunderstand me a lot on that in game and stuff.
I think that sure, it stings if you're being replaced when you feel like you still have a lot to give to an organization, and maybe your visions are not clear enough for everyone else to understand. That will make it sting if you're being replaced. Um, but at the same time, we're all here to try to make the game fun. And if everyone is, has that kind of vision, it shouldn't be about who is at the top or who is ranking at the highest. It should be easy to switch to someone else. It is so easy for people in the game to burn out
Mm-hmm. Yep.
just because they pour so much of themselves into an organization.
And they may not
Absolutely.
even realize it.
No, exactly. And after a while, it might be good to, if not stepping back, just I would like that for there to be. It doesn't have to be mechanical, but it would be nice if there was a set time for people to sit,
Right.
and then they can, defend their position, or and if
And
they no
Lorian
one
has one for the
if no one
Vanguard.
challenges you, then fine, you sit for another term or whatever.
Yeah. Go ahead,
And Norian
Rosani.
has something like that for the Vanguard.
Yeah,
Is that after a certain set amount of time, there's another election among the heralds
yeah,
as to if there needs to be a new Vanguard and that sort of thing. And of course, people contest all the time. I will say though, again, as somebody who has seen a very rapid change in leadership, only for the excitement of being the leader to die down, and then the org withers and dies. I can understand why people within a city would choose to keep somebody who is sturdy and stable up in leadership. Like,
I mean, that's understandable.
that is, and I think that's what happens a lot of the time, is that when you find somebody who consistently gets the work done and doesn't sort of make it an ego trip for themselves, then you're like, please keep doing what you're doing because I sure as fuck don't want to do what you're doing. So just keep doing what you're doing, have a great time, whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but I definitely understand. Like I'm somebody who, yes, I think that there could always be new leaders. However, I also would prefer to see the leaders be new people because you see the
yeah. But
same
Mm-hmm.
sort of
if
people
there are,
jump,
as
you
long
know.
as there are options, it should be possible for them to actually, contest and have a chance at winning. And if someone has been in a position of power for a very long time, I feel like if they choose to not step away and they just keep going through the, you know, movements of being a leader. So yeah, I keep things going. It's rolling. It's not moving upwards and it's not going downhill. It's just, I keep things steady. And then someone else comes in and says, hey, I want to give this a crack. Can I please do that? I have these and these ideas. Instead of saying, no, we want a stable leader, it would be sort of good for people to say that, yeah, let's try that for a bit. And if it doesn't work out, please let's put this back again, because then we go back to stable again.
I think honestly, honestly, truthfully, elections happen and everybody gets their say in the vote.
Yeah.
So like we kind of already have that. If if you want to see change and you like somebody's ideas, you're going to vote for them. If you don't think that the ideas have like the weight, or you just don't see it working out, or if you plain out disagree with the ideas, you're not going to vote for the person who does them. So I don't think I
Not in all cases, because in some cases there have been, cliques, and there have been people
Yeah.
supporting smaller groups, supporting the person that they want to stay in power, which can be problematic because then the guild or organization will remain stagnant, and the new people might not get a chance to move things on towards something interesting that draws in new people.
assert.
I know that there are a lot of people who say that there are possibly cliques, and I'm like, yes, there are cliques. There are definitely cliques in the game,
Mm-hmm.
I,
and
as
there's
as
no
somebody
getting
who's
around
been
that.
as somebody who's been accused of only RPing with a certain number of people in the game, I think that it's dangerous to point at the couple of clicks that do in fact hold orgs back as a reason to change the overall way an org works, because there might be a dangerous or toxic click that's there. Because let me tell you, like there is this, it's thrown around a lot in Atolia, and despite RPing with anybody that comes into the vicinity of me, I have in fact been accused of being in positions that I have because of clicks or any sort of thing like that. And I think that even if there are some cases, and there are some, we saw Durin some years back have
Yeah,
to have, or the Sentinels rather, or something, have to have their whole guild reworked. And
yeah,
Durin had to have their whole council reworked because
Right.
there are, in fact, cliques like that.
yeah,
However, I do also think that, like, if it were that bad, then as we've seen, admin would do something. Because they did do something in Durin. Admin stepped in and said, hey, this bad toxic thing is happening in Durin, so until you guys learn how to play correctly and fairly, we're taking away your toys and you don't get to touch them anymore. But,
yeah. And but
I think, sometimes somebody just does a good job for a long time, and I don't think they should be punished for being there for.
no. I mean that's fine, but opening things up so that, okay, so now this person has sat for this and this long. Is there anyone who wishes to challenge their almighty power? Um, the This term is coming up right now. If they don't, well, sure, but I think that an announcement of saying that this person has been uh, running things for X and X long, blah blah blah. Just to let people know that this person has been in power for this and this long. What have we seen? What kind of things have happened? Make sure that the person gets to speak for themselves. I think that would be sort of a good idea in a way, just to make sure that people see that, okay, so they have kept things stable for this and this long, which is good, and that's what we want. Fine, don't change anything. This If you instead feel like this guild has been stable and not moving anywhere, and people have been talking about we want something to happen, maybe that prompt would sort of move them towards contesting or putting together ideas of how can we move forward, what can we do in some way, instead of just having the general election command at your um, beck and call.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just tossing ideas here.
Yeah.
Certainly, absolutely.
I'd like to hear Ruren's thoughts on some of this because.
It's like I've been remaining very, very quiet for a reason. I have thoughts, and I don't want to say all of my thoughts because
Oh, okay.
this is a topic that I think needs work. I mean, it's always been an issue, and it's becoming. I mean, and obviously, this is coming from a player that I've been in the game since it started, so
Right.
I'm one of those people that really probably shouldn't be going into leadership positions, and I specifically often avoid it now because of that fact. Because I've been around so long, I don't want my history to taint, what we're trying to do with the organization. I'd rather someone new come in, step in, take
Right.
that position, let them have the opportunity to give it a try before I go step into it. Um, And so I think that what, you guys are saying, what Tiana's saying about possibly giving some sort of like notice, if even if it's an automated notice every maybe real life 3 months or something to say, hey, this person has been in this position for, is it 3 months for a year? I don't remember. But every so often do an automatic thing to just say, hey, they've been sitting in this role for X amount of time. Um, have an automatic election start and people can join it if they want to. And if they don't, the person remains in the position. I
Yeah.
don't think that's a bad idea. I don't know how much it's going to help, but at least it would bring attention to the fact that that person's been sitting in it whatever amount of time you would want to
Yeah.
set. Just kind of give that reminder and nudge. But I do know definitely it's not going to help in some organizations. There's not as many as there were before, but there are at least there's at least one or two more that are really entrenched with a certain, not even a clique necessarily, but just a certain group that while they may all agree, they may not all be friends, they at least all agree on how the org should be run and they don't want it to change.
Right.
So there's not really an opportunity, even if you have one of those posts come up, that anything would necessarily change.
Yep.
And I think that's a good enough opinion that, yeah, that's where I'll leave it so I don't get cranky.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say one thing on the topic of clicks, and I've said this before when we talked about it before on another show, but I think it bears repeating, is that there are some obvious clicks, right? Like, and you're like, oh, it's this group of people, but then I think there's some people, and myself included again, is that you could be in a clique and not even know it. Like you could
Yeah.
just be like, well, this is just my friends, but yeah, that's also what these obvious cliques are saying at the same time. It's like, yes, these are my friends, but I don't know. I think it's easy to get into that and not even realize it too. And I think
You want to know something there? I will admit, I've been in cliques in that exact same situation. So back in Bloodlock, there was Karev and a few other people at one particular time that we had a clique that was very specifically trying to get certain people to not be able to get in positions. And this is, kind of outing myself on this. To make sure that people didn't get certain positions, people didn't get elected into different leadership roles or what have you, because they would ruin what the organization was about. It was considered, back in the old B term, snuggly or whatever you want to call
Mhm.
that,
Oh
that
yeah.
old term. So yeah, we had a very classic clique there where we were very strict of trying to make sure that certain people did not get in there. Was it right of us? No, not how I view it now. I
right.
realized, oh crap, what the hell were we doing? Same thing happened in Duran with people, very specific people that say they were not part of a clique, but they were.
Mhm.
Um, Trying to make sure they got a friend into the org that most of the other people in the organization didn't want back, but because it was their friend, they went ahead and got that person back into the organization, and it should not have happened. It should have been, taken to a vote, all of that good stuff, like
Mhm.
normal procedure. But they bypassed that whole thing and made sure their friend got back in with really no effort at all. So it does happen, and I have definitely seen it. I've been part of some of that stuff in the past, but I think there is less of it at least. I think we have grown as people in this game and
Yeah.
just are a lot more open, understanding, and try to not do those things. And when we realize we are, stop ourselves. Most of us do at least, and just say, yeah, let's not be the assholes here.
I'm starting to realize that perhaps I don't perceive clicks as an issue because I didn't know old Atolia.
And that's
Because
probably a lot of it, yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it and
because
it's
like let's face it, when somebody looks at me and says, "Hey, I think you're part of a clique because you hang out with these people," and it just so happens to be the only people that didn't call me a slur when I first joined the game,
Mhm.
then at some point you're accusing me of being in a clique because I have friends that I like to RP
Yeah.
with.
I
Right.
mean,
So I think maybe that's why I'm not so worried about it, is because I didn't know Old Atolia. So I had no idea that it was such a huge problem in Old Atolia.
the thing is, I'm probably part of cliques, but on the other hand, I'm probably part of cliques that are on opposing sides in some ways because I mean, uh, I have friends on both tethers. I have friends from old Itolia and new
Mhm.
people and whatever. But I have seen how some or heard from people how they have been treated by clicks, which makes me wary because it exists and it makes people feel really bad being treated in a bad way
Yeah.
or excluded from things just for not being one of the cool people.
Yeah, or even living up to that group's expectations or what you say and stuff like
Which
that.
is kind
Yeah.
of sad because it should be an inclusive
Not for
experience
nothing.
being in this game.
This is a text game. Nobody here is part of the cool people. We're
I
playing a
mean,
text.
Totally part of the cool people. What you talking about? I'm
yeah.
cool. I'm the
Like,
coolest.
Everybody on the stream is in a clique and we're all cool.
like,
Yep.
like that's sort of the way I look at it. Is like the we're playing a text game. Like if somebody wants to be like, well, we're the cool kids. It's like a bitch. You're behind a computer playing a text game.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's fine. I acknowledge and embrace my identity as a fucking
Nerd.
dweeb. I'm a nerd. I play D&D
The
and
thing is,
text
Yeah.
games all day.
the
Like
number of
that,
times
maybe
I
that's
have
why I
actually heard people say, "Oh, cool," when I've said that I'm playing a text-based game, ridiculously many. I mean, it's
how
kind of
many
strange.
how many of those people also do other nerdy things though?
Right.
Some of them, but not all of them. I mean, that's kind of the scary thing. I was talking to someone never heard of this before, doesn't play games at all, not a gamer whatsoever. Sort of like, he works on cars and he's working on different, he's really not the technology kind of person, and he's really not what I would say a nerd that I am proud to be. And he was like, "Oh, cool, that sounds really interesting." I'm like, what? Really? Didn't really feel like that kind of person would say that, but it's strangely enough many people who's called it cool that I didn't expect them to. So yeah, we are cool nerds in a way.
But yeah, on the styles of leadership thing, I think it's fine to have an opinion about how people do things, even people that have done it a long time.
Yeah.
And you can have these opinions and they don't. I just think people are very overprotective of their position as head of organizations. And they think that any kind of, like, I feel like a lot of people think that any kind of negative comment or criticism or whatever is just like someone like, oh, they're gonna take it from me and they're gonna ruin it and blah blah blah. And it's like no, maybe we just want to see things done from a different angle, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that people just like, they have the worst opinion of like every single bit of criticism that comes their way, like even just in character, when it makes sense and stuff.
I
But
I I think that goes both ways though.
Yeah.
Because we like if we're gonna go into it, let's call a spade a spade. We had an election in Anori, and a few people who were running, and in fact a person, like, a couple of people who were running, sort of cracked under the pressure of questioning of what their intentions were. And that is also a way of cracking underneath that pressure of potential leadership. So I think that has to go both ways. Like,
Yeah.
if you are going to critique a leader, you also have to be willing to accept that people are going to critique your ideas of what you want to bring to that organization.
Yeah.
And I feel like just because it's new doesn't mean it's better. And I feel like a lot of the time people are so caught up on, like, we've been doing this for a long time, so let's do something new and different and it'll be totally better. Sometimes new things are worse. Again,
Yeah.
because I've seen this happen to a couple of orgs that I've been involved with. So,
Yeah.
like, critiquing is absolutely vital. If a leader won't take your critique, then they're not a very good leader. I agree 100% on that.
I mean,
But
one of the
if
things
you
that
want to be a leader and you also can't take critique, then you're not going to be a good leader. That's just the reality of it.
yeah, I'm just going to mention one thing here, and this is um, when I was the Sciomancer Guildmaster. I was waiting for the revamp for forever. And because of timeline issues and because of information loss and things in general, I was waiting for things to happen. I said it earlier that being a leader and not being able to know sort of what you can do and what you can expect coming up later on if admin is involved, for example, makes it difficult to be a leader and push forward. So in my case, I was a bit frustrated when I lost my position as guild master, or chose after some pressure to step back, because I had been waiting so long for that revamp to happen, and then I didn't get to take part in it because I basically had to step down before I lost my mind. So, but it's sort of like I I can understand people being frustrated by being pushed away before they get to do the thing that they want to do. So in my case, I know that I was salty when stepping back, uh, because the revamp happened 2 weeks after I stepped back.
Right.
So that made it very frustrating for me, having been a leader of a guild, but not being able to push forward. And as soon as I stepped back, they were able to push forward.
Yeah.
So, and
That certainly is frustrating. Like, yeah.
yeah, and having people know, because at that time, I know that people asked me, can we do this? Can we push forward? And I was like, I was so tired of waiting, but I knew that I was told that it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So I didn't want to push for something new because the revamp was coming. But that also made it frustrating for me because I had to tell these people who had some really good ideas that, can we please wait for a second? Can I please not hand this over to you just yet? Because I want to see this through. And it was not my choice to hold back the guild because I was just waiting, and it was a frustrating waiting game. So I mean, it was a difficult situation as a leader, and I can understand that for some other people as well. If they sit in a spot where someone who has a lot of ideas and really want to get that chance, have a dialogue about it and actually try to understand where the person who is in charge or who is the leader is at, uh, from all points of view. And if there's a transition, you can probably make it a bit smoother than what happened at that point, for me
I
at least.
Yeah, communication. I think you're absolutely right. Is 100%
Yeah.
key in these things because much like with you, I would wager that a few guilds right now or whichever are a little bit stagnant because once again, we're just getting back a producer that's doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, I have heard from people who are in guilds that submitted org recs a year and a half ago that are now just getting done.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
like, it's and maybe that's why I'm willing to cut leaders right now who've been there for a long time quite a bit of slack
Yeah.
because I'm like, how much can you push a guild forward if nobody is there to answer you? Like if
Yeah.
nobody's there to say yes, let's do this, or no, you can't do that. Much like your situation, and it
Yeah.
sucks that you didn't get the opportunity to finally get the go ahead to do something
Yeah.
because of a failure that wasn't yours.
Right.
Like that's sort of what it boils down to is like I feel like there's some leniency to be had for leaders who have been leading during this fiasco because the failure wasn't on them. Mind you, if you
Right.
find out your guild master's been stealing a ton of gold or whatever,
Yeah,
that
well,
failure's on them.
yeah.
But
But
sometimes
I
you
mean,
can't push it
seriously,
through. Yeah,
in a situation where you're sitting as a leader and you're trying to have communications with admin about something that will be happening, you're hoping for some answers. Um, and at that point, I believe I had been, in communication with them and saying that since I'm European, if there is a release event, can you please let me know well in advance so that I can actually schedule to be around. Because it's a hassle to actually and this was in June, which means that it's grading times where I'm swamped at work, so I need the time to schedule being able to play the game.
Right.
Let me know well in advance, and I hear nothing. Then it's even more difficult for me to just let it go to someone else and just, I've been waiting for this for 2.5 years, and now it happened.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
sorry, that's me being a bit salty about stuff, but have communications with the other leaders. If you're not happy with how things are run, talk about it icily, discuss it.
Yeah. I think
Or
that's an important thing right there.
if you want to have treason, or if you want to plan a coup, well, do that. Just expect the consequences afterwards.
Yeah. And also, oppositely, I think that some of the onus should also fall on leaders to hold town halls and be
Right.
like, hey, uh, what is it that we want to do as an organization?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't take it personally if your idea is not taken because it doesn't match with the lore of the organization or whichever. But I,
From admin or whatever.
yeah, I think that leaders and hopeful leaders alike should. The first part of leadership is taking initiative.
Yeah.
So they should show initiative by asking the people who are in their organization what they want to see more.
Yeah.
So it should fall on both parties, really.
Yep. And I think I really do think that, and I don't, again, just like with clicks, some people may be doing this and not meaning to be malicious about it, but it just is what it is and has the effect that it has. I think there's a lot of leadership, and it's not just cities; it's like any of them. There's a lot of leadership that is being done out of character and on Discord, and I think that that's a really awful thing.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I'm not trying to
I
call out one group of people. I'm just saying like everybody does it, and it's something that I
Well, because
think
of time zones, it winds
right.
up being easier. Yeah,
But
but
like
it's
you're
not.
also then affecting the other people that you're doing it with in character with your out of character thoughts and things you want to do, and I think that that's real bad. Like I just think that's not everybody does it, Mule, but lots of people do, and I just don't think it's a good way to run anything in the game is to be like, all right, we're gonna, this is what we want to do. Like, do that in character. Like, what is like? I just think that you can do that in character, even with like letters or messages or however you
Yeah.
want to do it. Don't automatically just be like, well, we're gonna do all this decision making on Discord. Like, I just think that that's really bad for the game.
Yeah, that's bad form generally.
But
I
that's
didn't
just my
even want
opinion.
to be a guildmaster to start with. I sort of was tossed into the role because the guildmaster was suddenly, absent.
Yeah.
I think we had 3 people talking. Oh, cat!
Very briefly, sorry.
Yeah. But I was just going
Yeah.
to say, we had another topic, but I think we're going to save it for another show because we're coming up on the end here.
Yeah.
It's coming up on dinner time for me and probably other people in here. So,
Midnight. Yeah.
It
But-
smells so good in the other room.
Yeah.
And I've been just ruling over here.
I didn't even ask Rearin. I just assumed that, we're both on same time zone, and I know it's getting later for me. And I honestly, you know what, guys, I still don't have all my milestones done, and it's reset in 2 hours. So I'm probably going to use my knives and try to go do that here after we log off. But I did want to go ahead and take this time to draw the winner for the credit giveaway real quick, and then we
Certainly.
could talk about a couple other things real quick. All right, and Gribbit wins it,
Oh, nice.
who I believe is a newer character, so that's nice.
Ribbit.
Right on. Are you a Grook, Gribbit? You better be.
Hell yeah,
Name
Gribbit.
like that.
So, yeah.
Like that.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad somebody newer got it. I love giving it to anyone, but like I just love when the newer players get the benefit because 50 credits goes a lot longer for them than
Yeah.
it does older players like us.
Absolutely.
All right, so I wanted to say a couple things with the person who followed us earlier, Segnuist. I think we for sure 100% have 50 followers now because for some reason one part of the stream manager was saying we had 50, and then the other was saying we still had 49. So we definitely have 50 now. I only need to stream like basically a couple random days of the month here soon in order for us to have affiliate. And then once we get affiliate, we can start doing subscriptions, but also like subscriber emotes, and we'll have channel points, and we can do things with those, and that'll be real fun. When it comes to like when we get that and we start, I need to like design the channel emotes. I think we could do, you know, take ideas for that, take submissions for that if people want to help design the channel emotes and stuff like that. That would be awesome. That would be fun. Yeah, there's about a million things I could talk about the stream, but I thought this was really fun. It was great to have three other people on again, and to have our new guest on. I hope she comes back. I hope everybody comes back. And again, for the millionth time in a row, I would like to have more shadow people on. I don't want to hear anybody tell me I don't like having shadow people on because nobody wants to come on
you
from
ask
shadow.
every time. Yeah.
I'm
You make it
representing.
good.
Come on. Saiden is representing. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be somebody that's some big giant name. Like if you play Shadow and you want to talk about Shadow and you want to tell us things on here about things that are going on with Shadow that we don't talk about because I don't know, then I would be down for it.
Yeah. Just hop on and speak a bit.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
fun.
Because like during all of these topics today, I'd have loved to have heard a Bloodlock perspective. Like there's a lot of this stuff that I'm sure anybody who's active in Bloodlock could have talked about just as much as we did.
Oh, yeah.
As somebody
Considering-
that used to be in Bloodlock, I know Bloodlock has its own political climate, its own shopkeeping climate, and everything else. So
Bloodlock probably has the leaders I've seen in leadership the longest out of any organization in the game.
right,
Well,
So
a
it'd be
bunch recently
interesting to hear.
changed up, so there's
That
a little bit of
did-
different.
That did recently change, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. All
New
right,
things happening. Look at them boogieing along.
yeah. All right, I guess I'm gonna start closing some things out. I'm gonna go ahead once again, like I've done before, and raid one of my friends. You guys can stay and watch him, or you can just drop out. But it helps his stream that get that little boost in viewership. And he does. It's gonna be my friend Gamut again. He does Rocksmith streams where he takes song requests. He'll play pretty much anything on guitar that you imagine, and he'll play it, and it's a lot of fun learning how to play music and stuff. But we will see you all next week. Hopefully we'll have Steve on Shrine again so we can make fun of his nipple
Yeah, I
ring
didn't
some
get
more.
to.
So
Yeah, I didn't get to play him this week. So
yeah, you got to push him around a little bit. Let him know who's boss.
Yeah. Well, because he bullies me in return, and that I feel is a good rapport
Well, that's
of us
fair.
just talking to each other.
Yeah, Shrine is my personal clique. It's a 2-man clique. Me and him. I'm always sliding into his DMs and stuff, and he hates it.
2-man.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna type the raid command. You guys can come with me or not. I'm gonna hang out with Gamut for the rest of the evening while I do milestones, and we will see
Right
you
on.
all next week. And I'm gonna transfer us whenever it lets me, and then we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yeah.
guys.
Good work.